wins as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm nervous with every game. I was nervous going into the Air Force game. I was right. It was a nerve-wracking game. It was really, really nerve-wracking. Now, I do feel like maybe they're due to put it all together like they did at Boise State. Like, I feel like they're due for a really good 40 minutes. I do feel like they're due.
But it would be nice if they put together a full game where they look really good.
Drive it in, the Nick Boy, double pump up, and good. No glass, just put it up and over the rim. 46-28 by 18 big ones.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour one of Jon and Jim. That's all I got to say,
Air
man.
Force, baby.
That's all I got to say. Okay, it has to start here, though. Seriously.
What?
We're going to get to the Super Bowl. We'll have Cynthia Freeland and Will Brinson on the show this week. But we have a 4-hour show. They want it to go longer. We'll talk about the Aztecs. But, I've referenced this book every day, basically for 2 weeks, which is Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, which has been basically my summary and to some extent your summary of the Padres offseason. So Kevin Acee's been busy writing. He's just been writing. Like, he spent time this weekend writing about, hey, they're going to have a top 10 payroll in baseball maybe. Is it really the worst offseason ever? Then he wrote like thousands of words today on Sheel Seidler's lawsuit and the reaction from some within the organization. And I asked Kevin to come on the show because he's written so much here and we've covered this so extensively that Kevin's going to come on the show at 3 p.m. So there's a lot to get into. I guess to put it this way, this is what Kevin wrote about with the top 10 payroll article. Basically, the question is, Jim, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? Because the way Kevin started the article was by saying everything is falling, woe is me, the Dodgers won the World Series. But they say, well, wait a second. The Padres, with all their arbitration-eligible players, have their payroll up to $200 million. And a $200 million payroll is going to be a top 10 payroll in the sport. So is it Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day? Is everything fine? Or is it somewhere in between?
I don't know how you can say everything is fine when you look at this offseason and how it's transpired. I really don't. Now, it might turn out to be okay, right? But
sure,
we aren't sitting here dealing with hypotheticals. We're dealing with what we see and what we've known and what has happened. Like, we are discussing what has happened. Well, in this case, nothing's happened. So the hypothetical part of this situation, I just can't, I'm not going to speak on it because it's what it is. It's hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
And the hypothetical of this team being good this year, it's completely up in the air with a very incomplete roster and zero moves that they have made to improve on last year's team, which was at one point in time a World Series favorite in the postseason, up 2-1 against the Dodgers. Yeah, does going 24 scoreless innings against the Dodgers and then an offseason when the Dodgers make all these moves and you have made zero moves and you lose out on players that the Dodgers are going after, does that make it a lot worse? Absolutely, it does.
Mm-hmm.
But even if the Dodgers weren't making moves and they weren't beating you out on players like Roki Sasaki, you still would need to try to get better to beat the Dodgers, which just won the World Series. The Dodgers, they won the World Series. If they did nothing this offseason, the Dodgers will still be the favorites going into next year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, by standing pat and doing nothing this offseason, regardless of what the Dodgers are doing, it doesn't matter. Like, it makes it worse, yes. But by doing nothing to try to improve on a 93 win team last year is what is really upsetting the fans. Now, yes, put the Dodgers component in there, it makes it 10 times worse. And then the lawsuit component, it makes it 10 times worse. And you have, these new owners that are coming in where they're dead silent, like completely silent. They have not talked to the fan base once. And I think this whole thing, this offseason, has been misstep after misstep from the organization itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing about the payroll going up. The only reason the payroll is going up, we'll talk to Kevin about this, is because they've settled in arbitration where the players are making more money. But here's the other thing. The payroll hasn't gone up because, Kevin wrote that it's January and, there's a lot of work to still be done between now and opening day. They could still trade Michael King or Dylan Cease. How do I know this? Ken Rosenthal wrote it today in The Athletic, that both Dylan Cease and Michael King remain on the trade block. Doesn't mean they're moving. There's no guarantee that Michael King's going anywhere. Maybe they settle out of arbitration before this arbitration case. Maybe they extend him out. Although if they do that, the payroll is going up and up and up. Maybe Dylan Cease is staying. Maybe he's going. But this idea that they've got a $200 million payroll is top 10 in baseball, how do we know that? They could move Dylan Cease tomorrow and free up $15 million. Other teams around them could still spend more money. It's January. They were 15th in baseball in payroll in 2024. And this is what I want to ask Kevin about. He'll join us at 3 p.m. He reported earlier in the offseason, the expectation was the Padres would have a similar payroll in 2025 than 2024. What has changed? Are they really going from 169 in 2024 to 200 million plus in 2025?
This is, and I'll ask Kevin, but this to me feels like the Padres trying to get a message out. And maybe it's Kevin's own opinion, and the Padres had nothing to do with any of his articles. Well, not the second one about the lawsuit today, but his, I guess, opinion on the offseason. Maybe it has nothing to do with anything.
Right.
That from the Padres, it's completely 100% Kevin. But if there is this, I guess, narrative that the Padres want out there that, why is everybody getting mad at us for not spending money? Our payroll's, very, very high. You have to put things into context. And what is in context is the only reason why it is that high is because of the arbitration numbers. The Seidler brothers and Eric Katsenda, the man who is still the control person of this team, by the way. It's not Jon Seidler until he's voted in. It's right now still Eric Katsenda. The money that this team is, handing out this year to the players to get around a $200 million payroll at this moment in time has nothing to do with them. They inherited this whole thing.
Right.
And the last 2 years, the organization in free agency has spent a total of $18 million.
And all of that was last year.
All of it was last year, right? Yeah, it was. Now, $900,000 this year, whatever, with Tyler Wade, but still. So the context has to be said and put out there that, yes, the payroll is around $200 million, which is a top 10 payroll in baseball, but that's nothing to do with the current ownership of the Padres. And just because you have a top 10 payroll in baseball does not mean you're a good team.
Well, that's confirmed. Now, they did win 93 games a year ago with a lot of these players, but I would say this. In free agency, they had 7 key free agents. They had 7 players off their big league roster in 2024 that were free agents. None of them are expected back. Not one of them. They've all signed elsewhere. And, to pretend like this lawsuit isn't a factor in the way people are perceiving this offseason is, I think, probably short-sighted. I think the lawsuit is a big part of this because there's this belief out there. I think it's one thing if you don't spend money. It's another thing when you don't spend money under the backdrop of ownership infighting. It was Kevin that reported earlier this offseason that there are some that have said that the organization is paralyzed by the lawsuit.
Yeah.
So when you consider all of that, it's one thing if you don't spend, to your point, if you're the LA Dodgers, you win the World Series. It's one thing if you don't spend this offseason, but you re-sign Jackson Merrill and Michael King.
Yeah.
It's another thing to have infighting in the backdrop, and then at the forefront is you're not spending. People are going to tie the two together. I'm tying the two together. Why is the organization not spending? Are they fully committed to winning? How can this lawsuit not impact their long-term and short-term ability? These are the questions that I think are completely fair and reasonable right now with this club.
Yeah, and it does feel like there is kind of almost like a scapegoating here of Sheel in a sense, where she has put out her claim in her lawsuit. And if anybody's looking right now, she has and had nothing to do with the Padres' lack of moves. She doesn't have any say in anything. Like, she is not the control person. She is claiming that she should be the control person. And so she put out her claims. And then for the lack of moves that they have made this offseason to almost, I guess, use her as a reason why, to me, that's kind of crazy, because they could easily make moves if they wanted to. They are not, because right now the main thing with this organization isn't what can we do to put the best team on the field. It's how can we get our money in order. That is the number one priority, in my opinion, with the Padres organization. It's not, hey, what are we going to do to make sure that we put out the best team possible and build off a 93-win season and make sure we get over that hump and win our first World Series championship in franchise history. That's not the number one priority right now with this franchise. Maybe I'm mistaken, but actions speak louder than words, and your actions are clearly telling us, and the fans more importantly, that your main priority is to keep the money at a certain level with this organization going forward.
Not just that, I think the other part of the organization is like, who ultimately will be in charge of the San Diego Padres? Because we don't know how this case is litigated. Right now, it's Eric Atsenda representing as the interim chairperson. Okay, they won 93 games to their credit. I think AJ Preller gets a lot of that credit. Now we found out a few weeks ago, Jon Seidler, who we know nothing about, is going to represent ownership moving forward. That then solicits the lawsuit from Sheel. What if Sheel wins the lawsuit? And I read Kevin's piece. It's a lengthy, detailed piece. He spoke with over 20 people. It didn't include conversations with AJ Preller or Eric Rupner or Eric Atsenda, I don't believe.
Well, in that piece, it says that Kevin tried to contact or get in touch with the Seidler brothers, but was denied.
Yeah, which I mean, again, I kind of understand because you're in litigation.
And they're not the true control person, or at least John isn't at this moment in time.
And also, this case is going to be litigated. But I guess my point is that until we get clarity on the future direction of the organization, isn't that impacting their on-field ability to win? Like, until we know what's going to happen here, maybe Jon Seidler is the rightful owner of the San Diego Padres, but maybe it's litigated for 36 months.
Yeah.
And that takes away from their ability to win at the big league level. Maybe Sheel Seidler ultimately is the rightful chairperson of the Padres. But also, if that plays out over 2 or 3 or 4 years, are they put in a position where they can win? I just feel like it's hard enough to win in the big leagues. It's hard enough to win in the NL West. This has only made the process even that much more challenging. And I'm not blaming Sheel, and I'm not blaming Jon Seidler, and ultimately maybe it results in a sale. I just know this. It's bad for the organization long-term, and it's a far cry from where we were 18 months ago under Peter Seidler. I know that. We're a far cry from where we are 18 months ago under Peter Seidler.
Yeah, it's just, I look at the trend lines of this team right now, and it's really hard if you're a fan to be optimistic about this team going forward. I mean, on the field, they still have some really nice pieces.
They do.
Love watching Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. when he's healthy, Michael King pitch, Dylan Cease, and so forth and so forth. But can someone just speak to the fans? I think that's where this thing is at right now, is that this has ballooned into such a mess, and nobody from the organization has spoken. And because of that, guess what we're all going to do? We're all going to speculate. We're all going to come up with opinions. We're all going to talk about it, and we're all going to form our own, take on what's really going on with this team. And all they've said is, we're going to do what's best, and we're going to uphold the legacy of Peter Seidler. And people are going to look at that and say that's BS, because if you were going to uphold the legacy of Peter Seidler, you'd be doing stuff and you'd be spending money and making moves instead of sitting on your hands and doing nothing and worried about money more than trying to get the first World Series championship in franchise history.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to be worried about money, but I think it's another thing to go about their offseason this way. Yeah. I think a lot of clubs are worried about money, but the way they've gone about this offseason, how can't you feel a bit helpless/hopeless if you're a San Diego Padres fan? All right. We'll get more into what Kevin wrote about this lawsuit that's playing out, this literal he said, she said. Plus, Kevin Acee will join us at 3 p.m. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away. We're here until 6 p.m. It's Jon and Jim.
San Diego.
Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So Kevin Acee wrote a lengthy piece on this lawsuit. Here's the title. Okay, this is today in the UT.
Mm-hmm.
Lawsuit interviews offer differing accounts of Sheel Seidler's past role with the Padres. Because remember, Sheel is alleging that she played a significant role in the organization. That's part of the lawsuit. Yeah. She played a role. But listen to this one paragraph, Jim, that to me kind of tells you where we're going with the article, because it's thousands of words and you have to read it to get the full summation. But listen to this. Almost every person interviewed for this story, nearly 20 people, all of whom were in a position to have some knowledge of the Padres' business and or baseball operations in recent years, and the majority of whom have no current affiliation with the Padres or the Seidler family, either said that Sheel Seidler never had a role in operating the Padres or said they were unaware of any influence or input she might have had. So that's a bit of the premise of the article, that what Sheel is alleging, is it in fact true? Now, my opposite side of the coin to that would be, well, how does anyone really know the true role that Sheel was playing with the organization? It didn't have to be because she was next to people at Petco Park. She could have done it on email, via text, with her husband, at home, remotely, etc. Right? Like, the true definition of someone having a role in an organization doesn't mean you're on site and like working with Peter when he's negotiating Manny Machado's contract. So I guess my point is that, like, Sheel Seidler is now the widow of Peter. How do we know, just based on interviews with others, what role she truly had in the organization? Like, have we read her texts? Have we read her emails? Have we seen her phone calls?
No, and no.
That's my point there. And I don't know.
Yeah. Also, later in that article, he has like sections, differing interpretations. One person who was close to Peter Seidler through work they did together having to do with the Padres said there was, quote, no doubt he intended for his children to one day run the team. Another person who was close to Seidler due to their work outside baseball independently used the same phrase, no doubt, when asked if Seidler wanted his children to take over the team at some point. Peter Seidler often spoke of the love of his oldest daughter, in particular, had for the Padres. Sheel Seidler did not seem to have much interest in running the team or ever being involved in a significant way, according to multiple people interviewed for this story. So this is how I view it. It is a just giant he said, she said, and the court of public opinion is already done. I said this the day after the lawsuit, like, it's done. I see it on social media.
Sure.
I see
100%.
Like the feel, like there is, unless the Seidler Bros end up, actually doing stuff and making moves, and this team makes moves, and they win, then they're in a lot of trouble. Like, the PR hit right now for them is massive. And, PR hits, whatever, blah, 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 it's fine. But as long as the team wins, who cares? Winning cures a lot. But we've seen this franchise go through some really, really bad PR hits and follow up with really bad seasons. And after 2021, they followed up, to their credit, with a good season because they made moves and they hired a new manager. But there were moments after the 2023 season that you're like, what is going on here? And they followed up, to their credit, with a good season. This to me feels different. This to me doesn't feel like they're going to be following up last year's good season with the good season. Hope I'm wrong. I really do. But they're going to have to talk to the fans at some point, and they will talk to the fans at some point. And I tell you what, they better have like the best speech ever prepared, because right now this fan base is not happy. And if you just, do the simple thing and read the room, you have to understand that when you speak, whenever that is.
I don't think it's going to matter, because I do think that it's already kind of been set in stone that by Sheel getting out in front the way she did with her lawsuit, I don't think it's going to matter a lot. I think they're capable of doing one thing that's going to matter, and that's winning. I think it's the only thing they can possibly do. And I think if they don't do that, the problems are only going to intensify, is going to be my guess. So listen, I'm with you. I think there's something to be said for FanFest is this weekend at Petco Park. Are you going to see the Seidler Bros holding a Q&A? The answer is no.
No.
Would that do anything to calm the masses? Probably not. They'd probably get things like thrown at them, truthfully. But two things are true. Come FanFest Saturday Everyone is going to be there excited about the Padres baseball season. Young people, old people, families, everyone's going to be excited. Only a certain percent of the fan base is overly concerned with this. This is behind the scenes. They've sold out their season ticket memberships. They're going to draw 3 million fans. They have a good core of players. If they win, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care. And come Saturday at FanFest, you're going to think this team won the World Series last year because there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people there over the course of those 6 hours. So, yeah, I think it's a problem. Like, I do think the perception and the narrative is a problem with the hardcore fan. But I think once we get into the season, how much of a problem is it going to be? It's a Tuesday night against the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it's whomever bobblehead night. Is it really gonna impact the organization? Like, are you gonna feel the impact of this lawsuit each and every day during the Padres season? My guess is probably not.
Probably not. But if they go to the trade deadline and they don't, it's like say they're in contention and they don't make any moves because they can't add any payroll.
Yeah, but that's a theoretical.
It's theoreticals. Yeah, that's just all we can do right now is just throw out theoreticals. I agree. I think once the season starts, we'll be talking about on-field stuff like, oh my God, I can't believe Robert Suarez blew that save. That's because of this lawsuit. Like that's not.
If Jon Seidler wasn't involved, they hold that lead.
Yeah, exactly. That's not going to be the case. Like if Manny would hit that home run the other day, or if that ball went over the fence, that's 100%. Because of this and that, or it's just not the case. I agree with that, but I just think that going forward, not having that leadership, which is so sorely missed from Peter, is going to affect this team long term. They don't have the right leadership in place right now, and maybe they do. I don't know, but it doesn't feel that way. Eric Katsenda is doing this out of his favor to one of his best friends. Like he doesn't want to be the control person. You could tell he spoke one time.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to do this. And now Jon, who is a complete mystery, is going to be put in that role.
Eric Katsenda was a complete mystery.
I know.
Eric Katsenda was more of a mystery than Jon Seidler because at least Jon Seidler's last name is Seidler. All right, we'll get to more of your reaction to this. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, all things being equal, Seidler Bros, Team Sheel, sell the team. Like, can they navigate these rough waters? 877-767-4760. We'll get your calls on the other side. Plus, you can hit us up on the talkback mic if you want to weigh in. Leave a 30-second talkback. Just click on San Diego Sports 760. After opening the iHeartRadio app, you can leave us a 30-second talkback or hit us up on the text line, 70470. Start it with team. Kevin Acee will join us at 3 p.m. We're here until 6. It's Jon and Jim.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial
now.
All right, this update is brought to you by the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. The Super Bowl is set. There'll be the Chiefs and Eagles, a rematch from a couple years ago in Arizona. Chiefs beat the Bills 32-29 last night, and the Eagles, they blew out the Commanders, putting up 55 points, most in NFC Championship game history. And San Diego State takes on San Jose State tomorrow night. Game time has been changed, moved up 30 minutes to 7:30 p.m. Our pregame coverage will start at 6:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. All February, guests 65 and older enter free at San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Enjoy the sights on the Africa Trim. Enjoy refreshments at the Kamanji Overlook. There's something for everyone at San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
All right, San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday with the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. That's every hour, 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. Listen for the keyword at the top of every hour, then enter it at sportssd.com. Presented by Palomar Solar, your trusted partner for solar, batteries, and roofing. If you want to weigh in, we'd love to hear from you. Just your thoughts on the lawsuit, Padres payroll and offseason, 877-767-4760. You and I have kind of been rereading pieces of what Kevin Acee wrote today about Sheel Seidler's lawsuit. And there's a lot of interesting nuggets to get to, and we will when Kevin Acee joins us coming up at 3 p.m. But what did you want to get to before we get to these calls?
So in the piece that Kevin wrote today, and we'll talk to Kevin at 3 p.m., he mentions this. Sheel Seidler did help recruit Manny Machado in 2019 by reaching out to his wife, Yanni, and she remains close with the couple. Other Padres employees from the executive offices on down have said they have a warm relationship with Sheel Seidler and her children. So if she was involved in the recruiting of, like, I don't know, the face of the franchise back in 2019, wouldn't that alone be her having involvement with the team in some way?
The biggest free agent signing in the history of professional baseball in San Diego, she allegedly had a hand in. That alone is that she was involved intimately in the organization. I mean, that's kind of like full stop. So let me get this straight. She played a role in the recruitment of Manny Machado, the biggest free agent in the history of professional baseball in San Diego. I don't care about anything else. What other free agent have they signed for $300+ million in the history of the franchise?
No, at the end of Manny's contract, they will have paid Manny more money than they will have paid any other player in the history of their franchise.
So, like, isn't that kind of a big deal?
It's a huge deal.
It can't be like, well, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, that was the play.
Right.
I mean, without Manny Machado, we're not even in this era of Padres baseball. Their relevancy has solely been tied to the Manny deal. Everything changed for the Padres because we were here before and after.
Yep.
The 2010s before Manny were not the 2020s after Manny.
No.
Again, they haven't won a World Series. Who cares? This has nothing to do with Sheel or Peter or Manny even.
But the most important free agent signing in the history of your franchise, Sheel had a part in?
Sounds pretty significant.
That sounds significant to me. It's he said, she said. I can't say that right. He said, she said. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's just going to be a jumbled mess. But I'm sitting here reading things like that and go, wait, that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if she did have a part in this, then what?
I don't understand what we're even trying. And we'll talk to Kevin about this at 3 p.m. Is the whole point here to discredit what she is stating in the lawsuit is not truthful? You're not going to be able to do that through sourced reporting because she's going to be able to provide courts with texts and emails and all these conversations that other people wouldn't be privy to. Like, again, she's making these allegations in this lawsuit. And I will say this, she may not win the lawsuit and it might be settled, but it's not a frivolous lawsuit. This isn't just some rando wacko. John Schaefer seeks control of the organization. That's not possible. Yeah. She's the widow of Peter. It's not frivolous. Now, I don't know what leg she has to stand on, but this isn't just like Jim Russell says that he's the rightful owner of the Padres. That's utter stupidity. That's not what this is.
Yeah, if I were Peter, you know, I would I would hope Aaron, my wife, would, you know, be like, yeah, this is not what Jim wanted or, fight for things that she believed I would want.
That should have been spelled out.
That should have.
And maybe it is.
Yeah, it probably is. I don't know, but the names in the trustee are, I guess, the brothers.
Right.
So if that's the case, then that's the case. And there's not much they can do about it.
I thought the names were there are these trustees.
And they choose.
These trustees then choose based on majority the chairman.
So if I want to say one thing that Peter may have done wrong here, like maybe should have written it out a little more clearer.
They're like name the chairman as opposed to saying, well, the trustees are in control of determining who the next chairman is.
But even with that, even if it was worth the case, having this type of situation happen after Peter's passing is awful, because there is no way in hell, if Peter were here today and we all told him, hey, this is what's happening, would he be okay with this? None. And that's a slap in his face, because this man tried to do everything he possibly could to give the fans, which are the most important thing when it comes down to a professional sports team, are the fans. Tried to give them as much joy and happiness as they possibly could get by doing everything he possibly could to try to win a World Series. That's all he cared about. And now that does not feel like the same case with whoever the hell's running the Padres at this moment.
I'm with you. I mean, it's a very bad look. You hate to see this play out with professional franchises, and it's not the first time that it has. It's why some people have theorized ultimately the team will be sold. We put a poll on our YouTube channel right now, whose side are you on? Team Sheel, Team Seidler Bros, or sell the team? 70% say sell the team in over 100 votes. And by the way, 5% say Team Seidler Bros. So they've got a huge uphill PR battle to navigate in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Kevin Acee will join us at 3 p.m. Let's go to the phones if you want to weigh in. 877-767-4760. Dave, thanks for the patience. You're back with us on Jon and Jim.
Okay, guys, I'm going to be a little bit more serious today. I've gone through a little bit of this. I've got an existing estate trust. Wife died. My trust attorney says, look, if you ever get married again, California is a community property state, 50-50. And if you want to maintain the trust as it exists, you need to have a prenup. And if there is no prenup, then Sheel Seidler knows this. And Sheel Seidler, by California state law, being a 50-50 state, in my opinion, for what it's worth, you go get yourself some attorneys to call in on this to back this up. But this is what I've been told. She could be entitled to 50% of all of Peter's assets, and that would include the Padres.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Okay.
But actually, that brings up an interesting point, because you harped on it this weekend. There's this belief out there, Peter Seidler, very wealthy man. I mean, he owns a baseball team. They're free, wielding spenders. And you go to like Wikipedia and it says the Seidler Trust and Peter Seidler at one point maybe worth $3-4 billion. Massive amount of money, well more than their annual payrolls, well more, tenfold. But then Kevin writes, you know what? They don't possess the wealth that was believed. Him and Sheel didn't possess billions of dollars. It was more in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So
I'm confused on that part.
That confuses me as well.
I sent this article to somebody and they texted me back. The first thing they texted me back was, Peter's not a billionaire, or Peter wasn't a billionaire.
Well, billionaire in equity, because he owned the Padres.
Correct. And he used a lot of his own money to put into the on-field product.
Here's the perfect example. You buy a $1 million house, seriously, you and Aaron, but you put $100,000 down.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you a millionaire. Now you have the equity,
right?
But you're not a millionaire if you put $100,000 down that you had in the bank to buy a $1 million house.
I just don't understand. I just don't understand that part of it. That I just look up online what's Peter Seidler's net worth, and it's $3.5 million.
No,
billion dollars. Excuse me. And then to read in this article, oh yeah, by the way, and Kevin said this to us before. And my eyes was like, what? Like my eyebrows raised, and it was kind of towards the end of our interview. So I couldn't ask him a follow up to it, but it was like, wait, hold on. So he wasn't a billionaire? Because this whole time I was under the assumption, and as was everybody, that he was a billionaire, and he's not, or he wasn't.
I mean, does anyone know?
I don't.
But has that tied this up, dude? If she's the rightful owner of 50% of his assets, doesn't that mean the Seidler Trust has 50% less money than they had when Peter Seidler was living? If she has 50% of his assets moving forward, doesn't that mean they have 50% less? Again, I don't know the answer to it. And that's why I think ultimately there could be a sale or a settlement. If there's a settlement, that's going to be impactful on how this organization is run. If there's a sale, that's a whole nother conversation. And if she does have some of his assets moving forward, I would assume she does. Doesn't that impact their ability to run the team like it was previously run?
Look, at the end of the day, the things that are being hurt the most are the fan base and their, trust in whoever is going to be running this team, and they're all pissed off as they should. They rightfully should. I get it. And right now, the on-field product is being hurt by something. Something is hurting the on-field product, and it's really hard not to point at who is in control of this team right now or going to be in control of this team as being the reason why this is a problem. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, too, I want to hit on, and I know we joke around with Dave a lot, but it's true, and it was in Kevin's article, how the Padres arguably have the worst TV deal in all of baseball. And I can't help but think to myself that one person has kind of gotten left off the hook here, and that's Eric Grupner. Isn't that your job to secure a TV deal after Bally Sports went under? Because if it's not, then whose job is it? And whoever's job it is, that to me feels like it's got to be priority number one with this organization. How can this team get a TV deal or something that will bring in more revenue to this club? Because at this moment in time, it seems like that TV deal or lack thereof is really handcuffing them.
Let's discuss that on the other side. I don't know if it's as simple as it seems with that. We'll discuss it. Plus Kevin Acee at 3 p.m. Jon and Jim. It's not.
San Diego Sports Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Robert Half.
There's a car fire on the right shoulder of the South 5 Carlsbad Village drive-off ramp. North 15 Bernardo Center Drive, carpool lane. Watch for pieces of a refrigerator scattered around. I'm Mark Zegan, San Diego traffic.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Carla only has the best tech. Can't connect to network. But she didn't have the best internet. So she got Cox multi-gig speeds to power all her... Now, all her tech is... connected. Exactly. Step it up with multi-gig speeds. Available everywhere. Only from Cox. 2 gig download speeds. Individual speeds vary. See Cox.com for details.
Have you heard about the Good Feet store? A friend who runs a food truck struggled with foot and back pain until she found the Good Feet store. Their personalized arch supports brought her relief, and now she's back in action. Good Feet arch supports are clinically proven to provide significant pain relief in only 4 weeks. Don't live with pain. Get back in the picture. Book your free fitting today at goodfeet.com. In an uncontrolled clinical study, at day 30, most patients with plantar fasciitis reported a 50% decrease in pain.
It's Fletch, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. 10 million members, billions of dollars awarded in winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everybody. And guess what's coming up? Right around the corner, the big game is almost here. Prize Picks giving away a free pick for the big game where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection on top of that, you can win real cash with the real big game. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash with Prize Picks. And with the big game coming, Prize Picks giving you a freebie right off the bat with one of the starting quarterbacks only needing to throw 1 yard to win. That goes along with Taco Tuesday and Flex Friday, which I've talked about a lot. The promotions are my favorite part about this app. Download it today. Use code FLETCH to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code FLETCH, FLETCH, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game, or as Rich Ornberger likes to say, run your big game.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad payroll is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Listen to San Diego Sports 760 on the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, sports, talk, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good.
All right, so you can support the show by downloading the iHeartRadio app and then putting Jon and Jim in your presets. Also, San Diego Sports 760. You can also support the show by following us on social media or going to YouTube and subscribing to the show or listening on the free iHeartRadio app. Jon and Jim on social media, JONANDJIM. That's Jon and Jim on social media. And, of course, you can find us on the iHeartRadio app, San Diego Sports 760, HD Radio 1015, Channel 2, YouTube as well. Kevin Acee is going to join us coming up at 3 p.m. You wanted to talk about the TV deal.
Yeah, because that was mentioned in his article.
I read it.
And it's like, it just kind of hits you in the face. The Padres have arguably one of the, if not the worst TV deals in all of baseball.
They don't have a TV deal.
That's right. They have nothing.
They don't have a TV deal.
Yes.
You can stream them at MLB.tv. You can watch them on maybe YourView and a couple of other outlets, right, locally.
Like Channel 4
exactly.
or whatever.
So there's no TV deal. They're not the only team in baseball that's been put in this predicament. It's because Bally went under.
Yeah.
And Bally went bankrupt. They're holding on to some of these rights. But there was this other article written in November. It's at ESPN.com. That Major League Baseball is trying to bring all of their teams in-house. The issue with that is, of course, that'll never happen because the Dodgers aren't going to give up their TV money, nor will the Yankees, Mets, etc. But I actually wonder, Jim, and this is a question maybe for Kevin, is it on Eric Grupner? Is it on Sheel Seidler? Is it on Seidler Bros to get a TV deal done? Or is it on Major League Baseball? Because Major League Baseball is the one that desired to bring these rights back in-house. They could then package them, sell them, distribute them. Right? That's what previously was being done. Padres had a deal with Fox Sports San Diego. They got a check for $60 million. Fox Sports San Diego doesn't exist. Bally's, I don't even think it's called Bally's anymore.
No.
So, like, is that on the Padres? Is that on Major League Baseball? Or is that just on, like, the state of media right now? Like, you're not just going to, hey, YourView, do you have $60 million for us? It's like, that's not going to happen.
Well, again, it's not our job to dissect every little thing. It's their job. And if I continue to see things like what Kevin wrote about their TV deal,
right,
and then look at the inactivity the Padres have made this offseason compared to other teams, and a large reason why is like, well, they don't have TV deal. They have no money coming in. Right. Well, then that's a problem, and you got to fix it. How
right.
could you sit here and continue to operate without a huge component of revenue that you could be getting from a TV deal? I don't care if it's something, like, get something, like I just like the Reds recently just went to a new streaming platform.
Yeah. What was it called?
I have no idea.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like True TV.
It was, well, True TV would be great.
I know.
But, and I'm sure Grupner will talk before the season to talk about all the, giveaways and everything. Yep. And he'll inevitably be asked about, the TV deal going forward. And is he going to have an answer, or is he going to continue to say the same thing he's been saying for the last 3 years?
And the pitch has been recently like, this is great. Now you can get Padres games for $20 a month anywhere.
I don't care. I want the team to win and spend money.
And the problem with the $20 a month, we did the math on it. It doesn't get you that much money. Like, the fact that I can watch the Padres for $20 a month and like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people are doing that. You add it all up and they're getting dwarfed by everyone.
People will find your games. Okay.
Right.
That's not what they should be concerned about. Okay. They should be concerned about, okay, how can we get more revenue based, things coming into this franchise, and a TV deal is a huge revenue boost.
It's a
for
great
a team.
point. I mean, okay, so they used to get 60 million, and now they no longer get 60 million. And then you wonder why there's an issue with their payroll. I mean, 60 million, guys, think about that. Like, that's a huge percentage of their overall revenue. Again, not the end all be all, not everything. Dodgers have over 300 million a year coming in at TV. The Padres used to have 60. That's less than 1/5 of that. Now they have nothing. It's probably not nothing, but now they have 5 million, 10 million. I mean, how do you operate? How do you sustain spending when you lose a $60 million check?
Now, when they did have a $60 million check, they also weren't spending
some of those years.
And then towards the end is when it kind of bumped up. But that was when Peter took over as the primary control person of this franchise.
You're right. They had it from, because I tweeted it to you, from 2012 on.
Yes.
They got 60 million a year for 20 years, but they never got to 20 years.
And they never utilized it
until the last 5.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Or at least had that as a big resource for them.
You're right.
And Peter was all about taking risks and all about planning. That's another thing too, is I continue to see, this is the plan all along. This is the plan all along. Not spending any money because they already signed up all these big contracts. This is the plan all along.
But why would they do it? What kind of business model says just spend like a drunk sailor? Can I say that?
Yeah, yes, Sean.
And then not spend. So hey, we're going to spend all of our money over these 3 off seasons, and then we're not going to spend anything for the next 7 years. That doesn't make any sense.
And it's real easy to say those types of things when Peter's not here to refute them.
Right.
It's real easy when someone is not with us anymore to essentially put words in their mouth because they can't defend themselves. You can look at the actions of this team and they can say all along, this was the plan. But it's really weird how Peter, very smart guy, you don't become that rich by being an idiot. Very savvy.
Mm-hmm.
I
agree.
Very business oriented.
Completely.
Like he was on top of his game, right? Very weird how for that period of time while Peter was the control person and owner of this team and spent all this money, for then all of a sudden it to just stop and it be, this is the plan all along. I don't buy that for a second. I really don't.
I mean, the problem is, and I agree with that sentiment. The issue is because he's no longer living, we'll never know what the plan was.
No.
We can speculate it was to continue to be free spending.
Yeah.
We can speculate that the revenue was always going to come down or the payroll was going to come down. I would guess the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Listen, they're not going to not win because of spend right now. Like, they're not going to be done in by their payroll, right? We're not going to say at the end of the year, they spent 190. If they would have spent 199, they would have won the World Series. What we're going to say is something completely different would be my guess. We're going to say Xander Bogaerts didn't hit.
Yeah.
Or they didn't score for 24 consecutive innings, or they had a team on the ropes, they let off the ropes.
Or their depth was awful.
Yeah. Now, if they get down to 88 million in spending, like Sacramento A's or whomever else, or Miami Marlins, that's different. But if they're in the 200 category, I don't think we're going to say at the end of the year, their payroll let us down again.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
and for at the end, do you remember, and I think everybody will, remember when Peter talked to Marty and Marty asked about Juan Soto's future contract? And he said,
of course,
I'm not afraid to hand out another $500 million contract. So from that point in time,
right
at that moment, this was the plan after him saying, I'm not afraid to hand out another $500 million contract. Like,
that
what?
was 2022, summer of 2022. That's a good point.
So, again, there are things that are being labeled with this team now that I just don't buy because of things that Peter said like that he was like almost proud to potentially give out another $500 million contract. Yet a couple years later, this was the plan to do nothing.
A couple of years later, we're going to arbitration with Michael King, our best player, for $1 million.
Yeah, no.
All right.
No.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense. No. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider here on San Diego Sports 760. He's written a ton on the Padres over the last 48 hours. He's going to react to everything he's written. We will as well. If you've got a question for Kevin, you can text us 70470. Start it with the word team. Kevin Acee joins us next. Jon and Jim.
When the wildfires struck
All right, this update is brought to you by the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. The Super Bowl is set. Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans will be a rematch from a couple years ago as the Eagles will take on the Chiefs. Right now, the Chiefs are a 1.5-point favorite in the Super Bowl 2 weeks from now in New Orleans. And tomorrow night, San Diego State takes on San Jose State. Game time changed. Originally, it was supposed to tip off at 8 p.m. Now scheduled for 7:30 p.m. Our pregame coverage starts right here at 6:30 on San Diego Sports 760. All February guests 65 and older enter free at San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Enjoy the sights on the African tram. Come face to face with tigers. Enjoy refreshments. There's something for everyone at San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We are here until 6 p.m. We do have Aztec basketball tickets for Saturday at Viejas Arena to give away, and we do have Aztec basketball tomorrow night against San Jose State. So we'll get you ready for that. We'll talk about this NFL postseason as well. Super Bowl is set, but always pleased to have Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, back with us on San Diego Sports 760. Man, Kevin, you've been writing. I know that because I read both of these pieces over the weekend. We want to start with the one that you wrote, I think maybe on Saturday, and appreciate you hopping on. The one that is titled Analysis, Padres placing in the top 10 in payroll doesn't jibe with doom and gloom projections. So I guess I would just start there. Like, is it somewhere in the middle, in your opinion, Kevin, that, yeah, the offseason from a fan perspective with the infighting going on right now with the litigation, with the fact that they haven't really made any real move to this point, there's the doom and gloom side. There's also the payroll where it is. Like, is it bad? Is it good? Or is it somewhere in between? And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, a little bit of both, right? Yes, a little early for it to be bad or for it to be good. I've been in this business a long time. Looks pretty foolish talking about things in December and January and even February and March that were going to happen in August and September. You look back at the history of this team and the moves they've made late, the moves they've made in season. And it is something. And I just thought, especially with Jerks and Profar's comments then being taken as sort of a siren call. It was obviously something that has been on a lot of people's minds. The issue with the ownership, is that why nothing's happening? And I just thought, gosh, I've been thinking about this a long time. Like, no matter who the owner was, like, he was going to be paying these bills now. And he or she, whoever was in charge of this team at this point, was going to be strapped with certain contracts. And hopefully the idea would be that those players are going to be really good and be the core of the team, and that then you could supplement. And, it really didn't matter who was going to, or who's in charge. It also kind of doesn't matter who signed these players, because the owner of the team now is paying those players. And I think it's interesting that kind of like the perception of the missives that I get via email and other ways, that there's like a fire sale or what have you, or that, they're automatically not interested in winning. I just don't think that is the case. As a matter of fact, I think the evidence says that that's not the case.
Okay. Well, I think the evidence to a lot of fans and to us is, there's nothing happening, Kevin. And right. When the message from the team, which I think this is what fans get really upset with, is the continuation of saying we're going to honor Peter's legacy to win our first World Series championship. And a lot of people interpret Peter's legacy as doing whatever they can, the franchise, to win at all costs, making risks, signing players, making moves. And with none of that happening, and with rumors constantly swirling about cutting payroll and moving guys like Michael King and going to arbitration for the first time and not re-signing Jerks and Profar, I think it's really hard for fans to look at that and not be upset and say, hold on, what is going on here? And why are you using Peter's name and his legacy as something, that you're telling fans, but it's not, your actions are not matching your words.
Okay. And like a lot of that is like, I understand, and it is valid, and not to, one of the things I look back at and I go, how did 2023 work out? I'm not saying that it couldn't have. As a matter of fact, it should have. And I'm just like, what they've done in the off season has not always translated into what happened during the season. And that's where I get a little lost. I just do. I really like the season and how things play out, right? And I get to cover games and, oh, okay, now we're understanding why this team is good or bad. But the signing of players, like I remember wondering who the left fielder and the center fielder were last year and who was going to round out the pitching staff, and where the offense was really going to come from. And, and my goodness, did this team look different in April, May, June, July, August than it did to all of us in January or February. Now, I've pointed out several times that AJ Preller, whether it was brilliance, luck, both, nailed virtually everything last year. And you know what? He's probably going to have to again, based on what it looks like right now, right? So I'm not saying just because you did it last year means that you're going to do it next year. But I think there's lots of evidence, as a matter of fact, 2021 and 2023, that an exciting offseason doesn't result in the kind of team you want. I think Peter's vision, to a certain extent, is being honored by they're not doing a fire sale. I mean, they are paying these players that they are on their roster. And they say, I understand maybe they could be more out in front of it in terms of public discourse. Maybe there'll be some Q&As, or I don't know, at FanFest this Saturday. I don't know what they're going to say that's going to satisfy all of us, but like they say they're going to field a competitive team. And that was really Peter's vision. The fact that it was interpreted by a lot of people that they were going to always be in the top 5 in payroll or something. I don't know that, anybody right now should be held responsible for what people's interpretation was of that.
Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. He's back with us right now at San Diego Sports 760. I'm glad you went there with the payroll, because you wrote that, it's in the 200 range right now. It's not complete, obviously. Like you said, it's January. And I think you wrote it'll probably be around their opening day. But you'd also reported, right, and I've seen other reporting, that their payroll would be more in line with 2024. And 2024 was under $200 million. There have been other reports that maybe Dylan Cease or even Michael King could be on the trade block. So do you expect this payroll to be maintained, or is there still a scenario where they try to shed payroll to get back to where they were and assure themselves of staying under the CBT?
I think that they have decided that they're going to be around the 200 mark. Multiple people have said that, that I believe that is what they expect to do. I think that we were all kind of going on, all right, so they said, we were being told, me, other people reporting this, that it was going to be greater than it was, but less than it currently was, right? Like when they had all these, they have all these arbitration figures, that they're the arbitration guys that are going to make a lot of money. And so we didn't know where it was going to be. It's coming into focus to a certain extent that it's going to be around 200. As I wrote, to make additions, it still appears they have to make subtractions. I don't see any way that they don't. And I think the activity that they have at least tried to be involved in terms of trades shows they cannot add without also subtracting, because they have some big contracts. And gosh, I honestly don't know what that is, where they subtract. But I don't see how all of these guys making 8 to 20, whatever it is, are here with the team come opening day or shortly into the season. Just don't see how that's possible if you are going to put someone besides who's the kid, Lockridge. If you're going to put, I'm not saying he's not going to, I'm just saying if you're going to put someone besides Brandon Lockridge in left field. If you're going to, have if you're going to fill out your starting rotation, if you're going to have somebody besides Martin Maldonado and Luis Camposano at catcher, I don't see how you are going to keep all of these guys.
Yes, there is a lawsuit going on, and I'm sure there's some legal things that have to take place first before maybe publicly speaking on it. But have you heard anything from the organization that whoever's in charge of this team will be speaking to the fans at any point? Because I feel like right now, with all the fans in the dark, everything's left up for, people to make up their own minds instead of actually hearing from the Padres and the organization, and kind of being quiet on this whole thing, that feels kind of like a real big miss to me.
Totally get it. Like, I mean, yes, right? Me too, right? As the guy who would like to have information to be able to dispense it. On the other hand, Eric Kessend is the chairman right now. So like, you know, I think it's a different question than you're asking. Eric Kessend could be talking about the team right now. Sure, absolutely. That's not his style. It's not most major league owners' style. You can't have Jon Seidler out there right now because he hasn't been approved by Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, the usual spring training address, I would imagine some stuff when whoever the new control person is, expected to be Jon Seidler, whoever that is, that he'll be introduced. And at that time, I'm assuming there's going to be some questions about all of this.
Do you know what Jon Seidler looks like? Have you seen him at Petco Park before, Kevin?
I probably have seen him, and I've seen pictures, obviously. I've never talked to him. That I recall. I don't want to be caught in that, but my absolute recollection is I have never met Jon Seidler. 2012 was a long time ago. I'm not sure. Like most people, couldn't pick him out probably.
Which would bring me to my next question about Sheel Seidler, because again, a lot of the, you wrote about this in your article today. Lawsuit interviews offer differing accounts of Sheel Seidler's past role with the Padres, and you interviewed a lot of people that would have some of this information, and there was maybe consensus. I don't want to speak out of turn. You can speak on your reporting, but there was this consensus that maybe she wasn't intimately involved with the organization while Peter was running the club, but also Jon Seidler hasn't necessarily been intimately involved with the club necessarily either, as in the fact that she hasn't, quote unquote, been intimately involved, those are my words, does that therefore rule her out from rightful, chairman moving forward of the San Diego Padres?
No, not on its own. I'm answering your question. Not at all. The trust, look, all I'm doing is reporting, and the story that you referenced, talked to, I believe it was probably 17 people. After 15, I know that it didn't reach 20. It was a lot of reporting went into the story.
Mm-hmm.
The story on its own was about her claims in the lawsuit that she was intimately involved. She was Peter's partner. She was involved in deciding on players and that sort of thing. And so the reporting there is kind of unequivocally that that's not the case. So that's that. Does that disqualify her? Absolutely not. What the trust would argue disqualifies her is that she doesn't get to choose, and that the trustee gets to choose, and that Peter made his brothers in succession, Robert, Matt, John, trustees. In Major League Baseball, in almost all circumstances, wants the trustee of a trust to be the control person when that trust owns the primary share of a club. So, like, the logic there that they're following is Peter did not name Sheel. And so that's just fact. He did not name Sheel as a successor trustee. She's not in charge of it. So that's a fact. What my reporting over the past 3 weeks, and I would say my reporting over the past 3 weeks lined up with what my understanding was in numerous conversations with Peter and others over the years, was that Peter never mentioned her as a potential control person. And that's really all that's at stake. Like, I mean, an amazing story if Peter had named her, or whatever it is that Sheel Seidler was going to be the control person of the Padres. That would be an amazing story. Peter Seidler, beloved Peter Seidler's widow, a woman of Indian descent, I believe would be the first of, the first, I don't know what I'm going to say, like all minorities, but certainly the first woman of Indian descent, like all these firsts. That'd be great. It would be, I mean, my gosh, just the idea of Peter's widow, that would be great. That's not what's at issue here, though.
And in this article, people claiming that she had nothing to do or has had nothing to do with everyday operations with the Padres. you also stated that she did help recruit Manny Machado in 2019 by reaching out to his wife Yanni and remains close with the couple. Wouldn't that contradict those claims that she has had nothing to do with that? And no, that she has nothing to do with anything.
If we're going on the absolute word of nothing, then yes. My understanding is that has kind of been a role that the wives of team owners have often played. Hey, maybe the husband of team owners, the spouse of team owners have played. I don't know, but I don't know where you're going with that. It's like nothing. What was characterized, and that's all the story was about, was that it was characterized that she was intimately involved, that she was Peter's right-hand man, basically.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, because so are they paralyzed by this lawsuit? Like I see the quotes from Sheel. Obviously, the trust has issued statements. You know, it's a back and forth going on. We've seen how it's played out in other organizations: Baltimore Orioles, Denver Broncos, New York Mets. Some of these take years to litigate. Some are settled. Some aren't. You've written through your own reporting that maybe some have speculated they have been paralyzed by this lawsuit. Is this negatively impacting their ability to win on field in any way, in your opinion?
We'll have to wait and see. I absolutely see the argument that it could. Look, if they end up not signing anybody, and obviously they have to sign some people, but like if they end up not improving their team in some way or putting out a playoff caliber team, I think we would all be right to go, hey, wait a minute, like that's not what you guys promised us. And if that's not what you promised us, because by the way, you cut $100 million in payroll last year and you made the playoffs, but you did it by making your team better in creative ways. And you did invest by, taking on Dylan Cease's contract at the end of the year, taking on minimal, but taking on some money. So like that we can buy that was, furthering Peter's vision. But if we are looking back on this 2025 season and they didn't do that, then I would say yes. Right now, yeah, it's a pretty safe speculation, I would say. Like, look, they haven't done anything. And so it's really easy to go, oh, wow, the ownership thing is really paralyzing them. That's certainly the rumors around Major League Baseball, but you got to be careful of those too. I was also hearing at the owners meetings, the winter meetings, they were being sold. I mean, there's rumors like all over the place, and there's things being said. I think I don't want to overstate the reporting that was done on the Roki Sasaki, but that we saw the reporting, I think, in two places, maybe the LA Times, ESPN, or it was at least one of them, right, where the Dodgers used it, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly what that meant, but we saw that. So yeah, I can't say it's not affecting them, but for us to sit here and be like that, it's whatever it is. Let's say you come down on the side of Sheel Seidler's lawsuit is wrecked this team, or you come down on the side of the Seidler brothers, Matt and Robert and John, they're ruining this team. I don't think that you can say that.
Mm-hmm. And I don't. I mean, look, this is all he said, she said type of battle at this moment in time until this thing goes to court and gets settled. But picking a side is picking a side, but shouldn't it be like the fans has to come first here? I mean, this feels like, two parents and a child getting caught in the middle of a divorce where the child's going to suffer. And right now, going forward, we have yet to see potential outcomes of this lawsuit, but the road that this looks like it's going down potentially is that the fans will be suffering from this potentially for a while.
Yeah, that's fair, and this does suck, man. Like, we got one major league team left, and now it's in the middle of this thing, right? When we're whatever it is, 8-9 years removed from having what was at the time by far the most popular team in town, and another civic treasure. That they're always reminding us, right, that it belongs to the fans. That they're just the stewards. So absolutely, I mean that's. Being in the middle of a divorce or whatever, that's a good analogy. It sucks. I mean, yeah. But how I or anyone else could answer, like, shouldn't the fans come first? Well, sure, but even Peter Seidler was a businessman. I mean, I don't know how to answer. I don't know how to say, how can the fans come first? Sheel Seidler gets what she deserves, her and her children deserve, and the Seidlers who are, what should they do to make this right? Because the fans, I don't know how to answer that, but I will wholeheartedly agree with you that this is awful. This is really sucks that the fans of San Diego have to go through this.
And final one for me, Kevin, because you've said this to us before, and I kind of did a double take, and you wrote this in your article as well. And I just wanted to get confirmation from you because you're reporting everything. You reported that Peter was never a billionaire. So
right.
Can you explain the difference, I guess, between like his net worth looking up online to him not being a billionaire that you have reported?
He's not a billionaire.
Or,
I don't know. Like he's just not. He doesn't have his net worth is not $1 billion.
Okay.
I don't know what AI generated or what Sportskeeda, which I don't even know what that is. But yes, I've seen several places about his worth being. Well, his company had at one point, or maybe now does, which is a private equity firm, controls whatever $5 billion. That's by no means Peter Seidler's money. By no means is that Peter Seidler's money. But like when Steve Cohen, he's writing a check for Juan Soto. Peter Seidler was not doing that. I think that's sometimes where I wonder, when it is stated so emphatically by people about what Peter did or how he did it or his worth. Well, what about the $50 million loan that they had to take out at the end of the season and they got in trouble with MLB? And by the way, Peter did kick in the trust while Peter was sick. So Peter basically did kick in another $50 million to cover the $100 million shortfall. What about that? If Peter was just writing checks freely, why did that happen? There's what about the $100 million capital call? I don't know if it was 2021, 22, whatever. It's been a long couple of weeks. To other owners, the rest of the owners, that was not all Peter Seidler's money, and so I get confused by that. So I have to sort of just be like, okay, well, I know kind of what the truth is, so I'll just keep reporting the truth. There's only so much I can do to tell people he was not among the MLB's richest owners. Which is a part of the reason, good for you, Peter. Right on. What you did and what you were doing. That's awesome, man. Shame on these other guys that weren't doing it. That probably, if you want to look at it from those of us who don't have billions of dollars and it's easy for us to spend other people's money, we could be like, why aren't those guys doing it when Peter Seidler was doing it? But Peter Seidler had an awful lot of people to answer to in terms of where that money was coming from. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't speak to why it is so erroneously out there that Peter Seidler was a billionaire.
Maybe because he said, I'm not scared to hand out $500 million checks. He did it so impressively. Truthfully, impressively.
Yeah.
If to not have that money and be willing to potentially hand out $500 million contracts. Kevin, appreciate it. We know it's a lot here. We appreciate you doing it and coming on. You don't have to do that. I appreciate you coming on after I texted you earlier. So thanks for hopping on.
Take care, John.
All right. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, will react. Coming up next, Jon and Jim. All right, there was a lot to unpack there. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider. I appreciate him doing it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to come on. I texted him today to see if he wanted to come on, and he said, yeah. So, again, I mean, because there's two things here. Like this basically commentary opinion piece that it's not all doom and gloom. And I do understand that, right? I mean, we work in sports talk radio. Like, I don't do written word. We do spoken word. Like, we're very opinionated, right? We just, what's on our mind? It changes day in and day out. So I understand the premise of saying it's not all skies falling. I do get it. They have Manny Machado. They have Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah.
And then there's this article about, Sheel Seidler and the disputes of her account with the litigation. All right, that's his reporting. He spoke with 15 to 20 people on that reporting. So, I don't even know where you go with it. I think from a fan perspective, to your point, you really hit on this. From a fan perspective, it just doesn't feel good.
No.
And it does feel like the fans are caught in the middle. And I don't care what their payroll is ultimately going to be. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go to the ballpark and be like, I can't wait for an update on litigation. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it does feel like this litigation is getting in the way of their ability to win. And I don't know if that can be proven or not, but it just feels like their lack of actions is why I would say something like that.
Because I've said from the beginning, actions will always 100% of the time speak louder than words. And the main thing from Kevin's first article this past weekend was, there was logic in there. And I agree with some things that he said were along the lines of like, they spent their money and those players have to perform. Right. If Xander doesn't perform, they're screwed. Like if Xander has another bad year, that's going to be very bad for the Padres. Mm-hmm. If Manny has a bad year, that's bad. Tatis has a bad year, it's bad. Those guys are paid to be all-stars, so go out and be all-stars. But the temperature of this fan base right now is an all-time high as far as, I guess, not doom and gloom, but
but almost feet to fire too.
Pretty
like
close.
Accountability.
Because nobody knows Jon. Kevin even said he's never met Jon before. And because there's no relationship between the fans and the new ownership group coming in. Mm-hmm. So without that relationship, hey, Jon, Matt, Rob, you got to prove it. You have to basically create a relationship, which Peter did an amazing job of creating a relationship between himself and the fan base. So then the fan base would trust Peter with damn near anything he did. If he said, look, we're not going to re-sign Jurickson Profar, people would be mad, but people would trust Peter and trust his vision. Nobody has that trust right now with the ownership group.
Well, I do wonder, the one thing I would say is, are they even the ownership group?
They're not yet.
That's the thing. So it's like, we're in this gray, muddied area, and we'll talk more about it on the other side. Are they even representing ownership as we sit here in this exact moment? Can they even speak on their vision?
So let's blame Eric Katsenda then.
I don't even. I
don't know.
But again, it goes back to this overall point that this organization has been in such flux since Peter passed, and now we're 15 months removed, and who knows what the next 15 months look like. All right, we'll continue to react to our conversation with Kevin Acee. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away. We're here until 6 p.m. It's Jon and Jim.
It's the Marketer's Report. Today, Erica Taylor, Chief
All right, this update is brought to you by the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Super Bowl 59 is set. It will be a rematch from a couple years ago. Eagles and the Chiefs, 2 Sundays from now in New Orleans. Of course, the Chiefs yesterday beat the Bills 32-29, and the Eagles put up 55 points against the Commanders, most in NFC Championship game history. And tomorrow night, San Diego State takes on San Jose State. Game time has been moved up 30 minutes from 8 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. tip time. Pregame starts at 6:30 now right here on San Diego Sports 760. All February, guests 65 and older enter free at San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Enjoy the sights on the Africa Tram. Come face-to-face with tigers. Enjoy refreshments. There's something for everyone at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
All right, keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere, whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home. Just ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live through the iHeartRadio app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one. San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. I mean, we said the day we saw the lawsuit, we're going to cover the story, and wherever it goes, we're going to go with it. Like, we're not going to ignore this. It's not going to be the overarching theme daily. Like you said, if they blow a 5-2 lead in the 9th inning, I'm not going to be like, Seidler Bros, Sheel.
Yeah, I can't believe
right?
Tom made that. No, not Tom.
Matt, this is
John.
all your fault.
Yeah, John, I can't believe you blew that save.
We're not going to do that, but like to pretend as if this isn't a massive, massive story that is going to be impactful on the here and now and the future of the San Diego Padres is so disingenuous. How can you cover the San Diego Padres right now and not tell this story? Like, that is so disingenuous. Mm-hmm. How can you cover the San Diego Padres, which, by the way, have had the most boring offseason in baseball history? The biggest story has been they're going to get rid of their pink and green City Connect uniforms.
Oh, shucks.
In 2026. So, like,
it's good news for me.
How can you cover the Padres every single day and not cover this story? Like, this is the story.
It is.
This is the story. It absolutely has to be covered. Now, nobody has said that because of this lawsuit, they're not going to win games. We haven't said that. And I can't guarantee you which way it's going to go, one way or the other. But, I mean, this story's got to be covered. It just has to be. So we're going to cover it.
Yeah. And I just sit here and I just feel really bad for everybody involved, because this is not what Peter would have wanted. It's not. To think that this would be the state of the franchise right now, a couple years ago, it'd be crazy. I mean, are you serious? It's like, what? What's going on?
Right.
And I also, I can't say for certain, but pretty close. I mean, the feeling of it, if Peter were still here, to think that this would still be happening, that they would be making no moves in the offseason, they would try to be shedding payroll, they would be trading away players, talking about trading away players, going to arbitration with one of their best pitchers, letting, the heart and soul of your team last year walk for a very fair deal, not trying to extend players that are core pieces of your franchise. I am fairly confident in saying that this would not be happening.
Yeah, what is that? Some coincidence that all of that? And by the way, the reason we think, and we talked to Kevin about it, the reason people thought Peter Seidler was a billionaire was based on his spending prowess. He was quoted by, at the time, our very own Marty Caswell as saying, who said that I'm scared to dole out $50 or $500 million checks when they had traded for Juan Soto. And by the way, because what's also being reported today that we haven't fully covered, we've touched on it briefly, what Ken Rosenthal wrote today in The Athletic.
Oh, yeah,
that both Michael King and Dylan Cease are on the trade block does not mean they'll be moved. So let me be clear. It doesn't mean they're going to be moved. But Michael King, who you got for Juan Soto, is on the trade block. Michael King, the key piece in the Juan Soto deal, the first ballot Hall of Famer Juan Soto, who just played in the World Series last year with the New York Yankees, Michael King is on the trade block. So let me get this straight. We didn't see out the 2.5 years of Soto. We're not going to see out the 2 years of Michael King. Like, no. At some point, like that's got to stop. Like, okay, you didn't see out the 2.5 years of Soto, and they actually got better and they won 93 games. Now you're going to move Michael King, and they might not. But you're willing to go to arbitration with this player, your best pitcher, arguably last year, this young core rotational piece. You're going to fight over $1.475 million. That's why people think the house isn't in order. They're willing to go to arbitration for the first time in 11 years under AJ Preller over $1.475 million. Something's not adding up. It's not adding up. It's not all coincidence, Jim, to your point. It's not a coincidence that all of this has transpired post Peter Seidler. That's impossible to imagine.
Yeah, I agree with that. And did you see, I think where this came from, now Ken is reporting this, but Josh Stein, assistant GM, was at an event this past weekend. And Geekster on Instagram, she posted, she was either at this event or had someone at this event, because I think the Padres were there.
I haven't seen this.
That one of the things that Josh Stein, the assistant general manager, said was that they are, yes, exploring trading King, Cease, and or Arise. So, yes, nothing's happened yet.
Yep.
I get that. But if, Aaron comes home and accuses me of cheating on her and I haven't cheated, well, like the accusations there, like you're going to be pretty upset. I haven't done anything yet.
Right.
I haven't crossed that line, but you're still accusing me of doing something. And right now the team is looking to trade or talking about trading some key pieces of this team, not to help them on the field, but like to make sure that the money fits. And so
how can you sell that?
Just because those things haven't happened yet doesn't mean fans shouldn't be upset about it.
And listen, they moved Juan Soto and they had a good year after moving Juan Soto. I'm not going to say that just because they move a player, they're destined to fail in 2025. But again, the perception reality conversation. You shed $100 million in payroll last year. You traded Juan Soto last year. You didn't resign Jurickson Profar. Now you may trade a Michael King or a Dylan Cease. How does this look to your fans, and how does this look to the baseball community as a whole? All right, more of this on the other side. We'd love to hear from you. 877-767-4760. We are here until 6 p.m. Next hour, we're giving away Aztec basketball tickets for Saturday against Wyoming. San Diego State picked up a huge win this past weekend against the University of Nevada. Of course, we'll let you know our thoughts on Super Bowl rematch.
There was football this weekend.
There's a Super Bowl rematch. Second time in 3 years. We'll see the Chiefs and the Eagles. We'll get to that still ahead. But much more reaction to our conversation with Kevin Acee as we continue here on Jon and Jim.
San Diego's
All right, San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday. It's the Grand in Your Hand Cash Contest. Every hour, 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. Listen for the keyword at the top of every hour. Enter it at sportssd.com. Presented by Palomar Solar, your trusted partner for solar, batteries, and roofing. Jon and Jim back with you. You know, spring training or pitchers and catchers, I think, report February 12th. It's right after the Super Bowl, which is 2 weeks away. I mean, no matter how you slice it, and AJ Preller's really good at doing this, there's real work to be done in the coming days, not months. In the coming days, I get it. You don't have to have the perfect roster February 12th. It doesn't have to all be put together. They did the Dylan Cease trade last year on their way to Korea. But, man, it does feel like there's real work to be done. I mean, sizable work. I can only imagine. You know that feeling when you procrastinate for a test?
I did that all the time.
You still do.
I'm Mr. Procrastinator.
Don't you feel like they've procrastinated for this season? Like they're up against it, and there's the left field problem, the catcher issue, the shortstop issue, the starting pitching issue.
Because procrastination would mean that they're not trying to do things. They're just sitting on their hands and going to the beach.
Yeah, no, that's not the point I'm making, but are they even able to hand in the test that can get them the right grade? Or you know what I mean? Can they even hand it in?
I get what you're trying to say, but I do think Preller is up every single night trying to figure out ways to make this team better with what he has to work with. I really do. And to me, that's not procrastinating, because procrastinating, trust me, I know what it is very well, is putting off the assignment at hand. And the assignment at hand for Preller is trying to make this team better. It's not accomplishing anything. Nothing's happened yet, but just because nothing's happened doesn't mean he's procrastinating.
Procrastinating might not be right. I guess this is the point. Is he going to hand in a book report? I don't even know if people do that anymore. Is he going to hand in the final? And is he even capable of getting a C grade?
Well, he has to hand in the final without a computer or a printer.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Can you hand in a final when they're like, yeah, you got $1 million to spend. And, oh, by the way, that $1 million is contingent on you winning the Michael King arbitration case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is one hand tied behind his back or no? Is it not? Is everything fine? Because some people have reported that the organization is operating business as usual. Others have reported that the club is paralyzed by the lawsuit. Others have said they need to shed payroll.
It's all fine.
Is everything fine?
Everything's fine. Top 10 payroll. Everything's fine.
It is hard to really know. I don't know. I don't know. Is it overreaction? They won 93 games last year. They're not drastically different in this exact moment from the team that won 93 games, except they are.
I mean, I get it. Yeah, they won 93 games and they traded away a Hall of Famer last year. They made really no signings. They signed Jerkson Profar to $1 million deal, but then they did trade for Dylan Cease and Luis Rise in season. We are not at that point yet, so those things still could happen. I get that. But it's hard to envision them doing that when you look at what they have in their cupboard and it's bare. You can't trade 2 boxes of this for a filet mignon steak anymore, because you don't have any boxes of whatever in your cupboard, because you traded those away last year for those pieces of great, filet mignon steak. And now you might have to trade that filet mignon steak for more boxes to replenish your cupboard, because the cupboard's bare. You don't have the prospects that you had last year to make the moves that are necessary for building out this roster. You just don't. You used all of that at the deadline for Luis Rise and for Dylan Cease, and you are now sitting there trying to get very creative with not many ingredients. It's like a episode of Chopped. Have you ever seen that show before?
No.
On Food Network, where chefs are given a box of scraps or some awful ingredients, and
then you got to make something out of it.
And you have to make a really good dish out of it. And right now, Preller's a contestant on Chopped, and he's been given a box of crap ingredients.
No, Jim, I have a life. I was watching St. John's Marquette.
I can't even.
No, I haven't watched Chop, but I like the analogy, which is make something out of something that you don't even have. Again, maybe it's an overreaction. In today's baseball, when 12 teams make the postseason, maybe it's an overreaction. Do they even have to be that good? Do they have to be that good? Do they have to win 93 games? Do they have to vie for the division? Or can they just go win 85 games and be right in it They're right there.
You know this show. You know me.
Oh, you'll freak out if they start 1-2.
Are we going to just sit here and be like, yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
No.
And I tend to look at the temperature of the fan base. And yes, there are a lot of overreactors out there to like the nth degree, which is the Seidler Bros are worse than Dean Spanos. And I'm like, okay, that is to another level. That's not even close. Like, stop that. That's an overreaction that I will not get behind at all. But when fans are upset and constantly worried and in the dark every single day this offseason about how things are going, coming off of, the season they had last year, I tend to look at the temperature of a fan base and go, all right, that is where things are at right now. And I tend to agree with them.
I just don't know, because it's like there's two sides to the conversation. I see what people say on social media. I see it. We get tagged in everything. But then I see FanFest. And I see Tony Gwynn opening day. There'll be 42,000 people there. Like, this team is going to be consumed as much as they've ever been consumed in 2025. I'm telling you.
Because they're the only team in town.
Now, yeah, I'm not saying it's going to happen for forever. And I do agree that they have to win.
Well,
like, all those things can be true. Yeah. So like all this backlash, right? All this, oh my gosh, what's the future of the organization?
Yeah.
I mean, is that reality? Is what people are saying on social media, is what we're talking about every single day, is that reality in terms of impactful for the Padres today moving forward? I would say yes. I do think it's an impactful conversation on the future of the organization. I don't know, man. It's an interesting conversation because I don't know if it's going to, like, we're talking about it like it's so impactful that it's going to impact their ability to win in 2025. And it's hard to know because I don't know what's going to happen in 2025. I thought trading Juan Soto would impact them in 2024.
Yeah. Here's the reality. Okay. The reality is this team has spent $0 in the offseason.
Right.
The reality is they have no left fielder. The reality is their bench is awful. The reality is they're going to go to arbitration with Michael King. The reality is they lost out on Jurickson Profar on a very fair deal. The reality is there's now rumors and talks, it's not just tiny rumors, of them trading Michael King, Dylan Cease, or Luis Ariz, three very key pieces to your team last year, not to try to get better as a club, but to get to a number and payroll number that they feel comfortable with. That's the reality of the San Diego Padres right now. And oh, by the way, it doesn't help that the season ended the way it did last year, and the Dodgers, your direct rival, have lapped you in every sense of the word.
But other than that,
it's all fine.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how is the play? We'll get to the wrap on the other side. The Super Bowl is set, Jim. I don't know if you realize that. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away as well. We'll do that in the 4 o'clock hour. If you missed our conversation with Kevin Acee, you'll hear it during the 5 o'clock hour. We are here until 6 p.m. Hour 3 of Jon and Jim comes your way next.
When the wildfires struck Los Angeles,
severe fire weather conditions.
All right, this update is brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. We'll start in the NFL Championship Sunday yesterday. Chiefs beat the Bills 32-29. Eagles put up 55 points, most in NFC Championship game history over the Commanders. Super Bowl is set. It's a rematch from a couple years ago in Arizona. Eagles and Chiefs, Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans right now. The Chiefs are a 1.5 point favorite in that game. Tomorrow night, San Diego State takes on San Jose State. Originally, tip-off time was at 8 p.m., but it's been moved up 30 minutes to 7:30 p.m. Pre-game starts at 6:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell has the buyer. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
The Padres, with all their arbitration-eligible players, have their payroll up to $200 million. Top 10 payroll in the sport. So is everything fine, or is it somewhere in between?
I don't know how you can say everything is fine when you look at this offseason and how it's transpired. I really don't. We aren't sitting here dealing with hypotheticals. We're dealing with what we see and what we've known and what has happened. Like, we are discussing what has happened. Well, in this case, nothing's happened.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. This hour, we're giving away Aztec basketball tickets for Saturday against Wyoming. What a huge bounce back for the Aztecs we'll get into this hour as they win at Nevada by 19 points. Now, this is a spoiler alert for anyone listening that hasn't yet watched the AFC or NFC championship games, but you have it on like TiVo.
You?
No, I watched. I'll tell you what happened. Chiefs won, a close one.
Oh, okay.
Again, turn your radio down if you don't know this.
Well, I just said this during the updates, but continue.
Chiefs won a close one.
Okay.
I don't listen to your updates, nor do our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
And the Eagles blew out the Commanders. Basically, as the Commanders it's the Commanders. So
55 points.
The Eagles blew out the Commanders. I think it's a great Super Bowl. I know it's fatigue. Everyone's fatigued by the Chiefs, and the Eagles are always good, and only Philadelphia is rooting for the Eagles, and only Kansas City is rooting for the... Stop. People are going to watch. It's the same Warriors conversation everyone always has, or the Yankees in the 1990s. Everyone is going to tune in. Just because the Chiefs are in a Super Bowl for the 5th time in 6 years doesn't mean you're going to go watch some Beyonce film.
Yeah, my buddy tried to tell me that this is going to be the lowest rated Super Bowl ever. And I was like,
stop.
Yeah, it's like they're only going to get 115 million people to watch the game.
So. Yeah, it will be a massive, massive viewing. And I think the story going in is obviously, can the Chiefs three-peat first time in NFL history, or are they going to be dethroned by the Eagles? Not the most liked team in the NFL, like not even close, because I think their fans have a lot to do with like them being disliked.
Are you talking to Aaron right now?
I'm not talking to Aaron.
Okay.
But it is not going to be like if it like yesterday, Bills, everybody's rooting for the Bills except for if you're a Chiefs fan. You know what I mean? Like everybody.
Mm-hmm. So is it kind of like Evil Empire? Do you think more people are rooting for the Eagles because they're not the Chiefs?
I would say most people are rooting for the Eagles because they're not the Chiefs. But like I said, the Eagles aren't the most liked team just in general. So you might see a lot of people going, you know what?
Ty?
I want the Eagles to, I want the Chiefs to just three-peat. Like just do it. Just because we probably might not ever see that again. It has never happened in NFL history. And to see something you've never seen before, ever, for some people might be better than seeing them lose out to a team that isn't really like that much.
I think if they three-peat, they four-peat. I really do. I think if they three-peat, they four-peat. I don't see anything slowing this down. They're 17-0 in their last 17 one-score games.
It's ridiculous.
It's just like it's the same story every game. They are the definition of finding a way. And I know, what's the betting line now for this game?
1.5.
Again, close betting line. It's supposed to be a great game, and it will be. But they're one possession, one play better. It was the story of. It's been the story. It's a story as old as time.
Yeah.
Which is Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. They haven't been perfect. They lost to Brady at one point. They haven't been perfect, but they've been close to perfect over the last half decade.
The only thing that's going to stop them is players like Chris Jones or Travis Kelce retiring.
Well, that's true. That is a good point. Like these dominant Hall of Fame I agree with that.
You know, the coaches are going to be intact. Mahomes is not even 30 yet.
It's amazing. Is he 29?
Yeah.
He's 29.
But he's got another eight like MVP seasons left in him potentially. You know, like he's got a lot of good football left in him. And when players like Chris Jones and Travis Kelce leave or retire, then you're going to probably see them not be as dominant. I saw something the other day that was pretty funny last night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously the comparisons to the Brady and Mahomes are going to be talked about ad nauseum throughout the next 2 weeks. I get it.
Yeah, makes sense.
And you look at everyone's gonna be like, well, look at Mahomes' first 8 years in the league compared to Brady's first 8 years in the league.
They've been better.
They've been a lot better. But I also think what you have to do is you got to flip that.
The last 10?
Like look at Brady's last 10 years in the league.
It's crazy.
To Mahomes' first years in the league. And then they're matched up pretty evenly.
Okay, let me just ask you this. Is it fair though? Let's say we finish off their careers. All right, both are done. We fast forward, and Tom's got 7 rings.
Tom's got 7.
Let's just say Mahomes ended up with 6. Just hear me out. So it's fewer rings.
Like the Jordan LeBron argument, which is going to be talked about forever.
But everything else is superior. I'm talking about hundreds of more touchdown passes and tens of thousands of more yards, even more postseason wins. More.
I get it.
Like, is it going to solely come down to, well, he has 7?
Well, the one thing that we have in this debate that will be talked about forever, that you don't have in the debate with LeBron versus MJ, is that they played each other.
They did.
And guess who won? Tom.
Yeah, but they didn't really play each other.
Well, hey, look.
Do you know what I mean? Like LeBron plays Steph.
Yeah, but all we talk about is Josh Allen's now 0-4 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
They do say that. Of course, they've never been on the field at the same time.
I get it, but you understand the talking points.
No, I do.
And so for me, unless Mahomes gets like 7 or 8, it's going to be really hard because they played each other and Brady won at Arrowhead.
No way he needs 8, though. No. I think at the end of his career, if he gets 7, tie goes to Mahomes because it'll be more recent.
Right.
His numbers will be more gaudy. When Brady retired, nobody would ever think in a million years someone could get to 7. If the next guy gets to 7, how many is he at right now? 3?
He's at 3.
He's 1 game away from 4 in his 20s.
And what would make you think he doesn't get it? You know what I mean?
Nothing. That's why I said if they win it this year, I think they win it next year.
I've always thought from the middle of the season, I told Aaron this. I go, look, I think the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl, and I think the Eagles are the one team in the league that has the best chance of taking down the Chiefs.
Well, they can run the football. They can hold the ball.
Yeah.
They run it against everyone. And if you watch this AFC Championship game, which everyone did, the one thing Buffalo did extremely well was run the football.
But then they just stopped.
They got away from it. Philadelphia will never get away from the run. It's all they concern themselves with. 70% of the time, regardless of score, they run the football. They will not get away from it.
And what you are not going to have in New Orleans, which is what you did have in Arizona, that I think played a factor in that game, is the field conditions in Arizona. Remember that?
Point. Yeah, I do.
Were
That's a good point. Yeah.
And it kind of negated the rush for both teams.
Right.
But the Eagles that year had like 70 sacks on the season, like most in NFL history. And that field was awful. This is not going to be the case in New Orleans with a turf. So I'm curious to see how this matchup's going to play out. We have a bunch of time to talk about it, but you're right. It is a really good matchup. It's like the Cavs versus the Warriors years where you have Hall of Famers on both sides of the ball, and you're going to get massive ratings, and you're going to see the best quarterback in the league against the best running back in the league. And, you know, two really good franchises with huge fan bases and huge followings, and they've won Super Bowls recently. So
I kind of think it's the best of all options. I mean, I get it. Lovable losers in the Buffalo Bills, but do you really want to see at the end of the day Josh Allen, or do you want to see Patrick Mahomes? Like, that's a serious question. I get it. Josh Allen's been really good, but he hasn't gotten over the hump. Maybe if he did, it changes the perspective. Patrick Mahomes is historically good, close to 1 of 1 or 1 of 2. You're getting to see him. You're getting to see him. People can say they don't like him. That's fine. It's a love-hate thing. I just think at the end of the day, if you told me Commanders, Chiefs, no.
Chiefs would have rolled.
Commanders Bills is not as sexy as Eagles Chiefs. It just isn't. You might not like it. I get it. You may not like it, but to me, this is what the NFL was hoping for.
Yeah.
Chiefs with Taylor and Patrick and Andy Reid. Eagles with their massive fan base and Saquon Barkley. I just think that it's what the NFL preferred, truthfully.
Yeah, for a Super Bowl matchup, because that's what they could have done. I think if there were obviously no conferences and whatever, they would have preferred Bills Chiefs. That be the game.
That's an amazing game. It was an amazing game.
You had the true David versus not Goliath, but you had David would be the Bills, Goliath would be the Chiefs. You didn't really have that because Josh is going to win MVP, but you did have a franchise that has never won before against a team that's trying to be a dynasty.
Dude, are the Bills ever going to win at this point? Like,
that's why the Patriots versus the Rams back in the day. When Tom,
that was huge.
That was huge because
it was David Goliath.
Rams were, David Goliath.
Rams are a huge favorite. I just wonder at this point, like, if you're the Bills, what can you do? What are you supposed to do? Run it back?
At this point in time, he's a good coach. He led them to a lot of wins and a lot of victories, but you have plateaued.
Bye-bye.
You have plateaued.
What was your option? Like, if you could just snap your fingers, though, obviously, like Andy Reid's not available.
No.
I mean, where do you even?
It's Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, what do you do?
And Mike's look.
No.
Offensively, Mike's better than whatever the Bills have right now. And Sean McDermott's supposed to be this defensive, guru, and he gave up 7 yards per play to the Chiefs yesterday.
Right. And the Chiefs do not have a historically good offense right now.
And you have Josh Allen and you go away from the run. Like, I know everyone gives a lot of crap to McCarthy, and rightfully so at times, but you tell me Mike McCarthy, his offense would be better for Josh than whatever the hell they have right now in Buffalo?
Would it matter? Are you going to take Mike McCarthy against Andy Reid in the next meeting?
Nobody. But that's the thing.
That's my point.
Not taking anybody. You're not taking anybody against Andy Reid. So there's not one coach out there
by and large,
that is right now coaching that's better than Andy Reid. So whoever you have, it doesn't matter.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But there are better options. To your point, there's better options for Buffalo, but that doesn't mean they're better than Andy Reid.
Just nothing's better than Andy.
Yeah,
you have to be perfect, and you have to devise a game plan that beats Spags. And right now, nothing has.
Andy's play calling is pure brilliance right now.
Oh, my God.
It's like, again, it's not because they pile up 500 yards or 50 points. It's the plays he calls and the moments that he calls him that separates him from everyone else, right?
Yeah, and once he got that monkey off his back winning his first Super Bowl,
he's going to end up with like 5.
You just see the comfort, which is through all the play calls that he has. Like, there is such a confidence in everything that they call that during his Eagles days, there wasn't that.
I agree.
And now with that monkey off his back, I mean, he's on his verge of a 4th Super Bowl. Like, he's going into it with 0 pressure.
Oh, no pressure.
And
I agree.
And because of that, along with 2 weeks to prepare, like, it's just hard to bet against the Chiefs, as you would say this past Sunday against the Bills. Like, how can you bet against the Chiefs? How?
I wouldn't. I'd rather lose by betting with them than bet against them. All right, let's sneak in a phone call here, and then we'll get to the wrap on the other side. 877-767-4760. Matt's been very patient. I think he wants to weigh in on the lawsuit and Sheel Seidler. And Matt, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Matt.
I just want to say shout out to my girlfriend in North County, big Padre fan who got me into this because I'm from LA. But I wanted to talk about Sheel Seidler. And by the way, I just want to say I'm new to the area. You guys are the best in the area that I've heard on the airwaves.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy.
But in terms of Sheel Seidler, I think this has been a con from her in the sense of, if you look at where she became highly visible, it was after Peter's death, right? She became really visible to the public after Peter's death. She was sitting behind the Padres bench. Was she visible as much when Peter was alive? Yeah, but not nearly like after when he passed away. And I also want to ask for the Team Sheel people. Let's say she does become owner, right? Let's say that the lawsuit seeks in her favor. Do you really think that she's going to start spending money? I mean, where is she going to get the money to keep up payroll? Do you think that she's going to decrease tickets? I just think that she had a good PR firm help her out with messaging, and she played to the fan base's heartstrings a little bit. And and that's why so many people are Team Sheel. And this is to say, I don't think the Seidler Bros are good guys at all. I think they're as slimy as can be. But I don't see where Sheel's going to be any better than what you guys got going on.
Appreciate you, Matt. Thanks, you, Matt, for listening.
Thanks, Matt Seidler.
No, he just
I'm kidding.
No, I mean, listen, the point is Sheel gonna have more money than the Seidler Bros. Well, I would counter it by saying, well, is she gonna have less? Like, I don't think Sheel's a worse option from a spending position. at the end of the day, there's all these minority owners involved. The spend is the spend. I don't know if Sheel gets in here and all of a sudden, like, dole out $700 million contracts. It's probably not going to happen. But is she going to spend less than the Seidler Bros?
I said this from the beginning. I want what Peter wanted, but only if that were going to mean that this team was going to function in truly his legacy and his honor. Now I'm just like, look, get somebody else in here because the only thing that matters is winning on the field. I don't care who the owner is, as long as that owner is aligned with everything with the franchise and doing whatever they can to make sure this team wins the World Series. Like, that's all that I care about. I don't care. It doesn't matter who the owner's name is, as long as this team and ownership group, whoever it is, does the necessary things to put a winner on the field.
So team sell the team then potentially?
I'm whatever is the betterment for the fans. And right now, I don't know if that's the status quo with this team.
All right, the wrap on the other side. We'll give away Aztec basketball tickets this hour as well. Jon and Jim.
San Diego Sports Traffic.
This report is sponsored by San Diego Seals.
AM radio keeps vital voices accessible. Congress can secure its future, but we need your help. Text AM to 52886 now to support keeping AM radio in cars. Tell your member of Congress to pass legislation now. Keep AM radio in cars. Standard message and data rates apply. Jon and Jim with you. We've got Aztec basketball tickets to give away. Let's get to the wrap coming up in about 10 minutes. I do want to touch on San Diego State this weekend. I think we went into the game at Nevada. You may have said, like, this is a must win. Right. I was like, well, it's a quad one, be nice to get, but you're like, this is a must win. And they played like their season was on the line. They played maybe their most complete game of the year. They held Nevada to 29% shooting. Magoon Guath was terrific, double-double. Bird and Boyd combined for 15 assists in this game, 69-50 win over Nevada. And it's a pretty big win where you looked at where San Diego State was, like on the bubble, like they needed a good win, and they picked up a really good win on Saturday night.
Yeah, it made that very close win over Air Force.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Be kind of like, okay, because everyone's freaking out after it was like, can't believe they only beat Air Force by 2 points. Oh, they beat them in overtime. Blah, blah. They got the win. That's all that mattered. You never talk about it again, and you move on. like you know what I mean?
The game we don't speak of.
Exactly. And thank God that they didn't get the loss there, because that would, I think, create even more pressure for this team to potentially have to be perfect from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
And with that pressure off, like you can just go out and be like, okay, we don't have that loss in the back of our minds.
Right.
And because of that, I think that's why they played really good basketball on Saturday.
I mean, just like to see that type of performance, because a lot of people were saying, they played their best basketball in November. Where's that November team? And my pushback has always been like, they're always going to be young this year. So they're not going to.
They're not getting older. Like, they're not going to age by 5 years over 2 weeks.
Yeah, over 5 games. It's like, well, why aren't they taking this straight line, forward or like angling up? And I still think that that's a possibility in the second half of the year, because Brian Dutcher teams are always better late than they are early. And they were really good early this year. Houston has not lost since San Diego State beat them. Think about that. That's 14 games ago. So the Houston win is going to count for the whole year. And now they got the Nevada road win. They've got the Boise State road win.
Quad one.
Yeah, it's quad 2 now because they dropped out. But it could still be quad. They're like one spot.
Well, then why was it a quad 1 game going in, but then not after? Because
because they were 73rd going in and then 77th coming out, and they had to stay top 75. But if they get back into the top 75, it's quad 1. It's confusing. Okay. Either way, it's a good win. Either way, I really like the Aztec resume. Now, again, I don't think they can just slip up, and that's not going to be easy not to slip up from here until Selection Sunday. But they're a lot better off today than they were heading into Saturday, because it's another good win. Maybe it's not a great win, but it's another good win, and they've piled up at least 4 good wins for me. Houston's great. Creighton's really damn good. Boise on the road is darn good, and Nevada and Reno is nice and good.
So Creighton has beaten the number 1 team in the nation.
Who was that? Kansas at the time?
At the time, Kansas.
Look at you, yeah.
Houston just beat who?
Kansas at Kansas.
And what's Kansas ranked? Top 10?
Yeah, they're falling off a little bit. But yeah, they're top 10 in the metrics.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that the wins over Creighton and Houston get better and better by the day.
Yes.
And yeah, like you said, Houston hasn't lost since San Diego State, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it was in November.
Yeah. So as long as you stay away from the landmines of Air Force, you're going to have a really good resume. And that's why that Air Force win gets bigger and bigger every single day. I don't care that it was as close as it was. I don't care how ugly it was and how they almost lost or whatever. They got the win. And in the box score, it's going to show that they scored more points than Air Force. And that is the W. That's all that matters.
I don't think they would have been able to overcome it. Even if they won at Nevada, even if they won at Utah State, that would have been a quad 4 loss. And now you look up, and San Diego State metrically is better than Utah State because of these Houston and Creighton type wins.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about college basketball. Like, yeah, how you win a game could, determine things.
Can matter.
But by and large, as long as you don't lose, that's fine. Like back in the day, that's not the case anymore in college football. Maybe it is a little bit because of the ranking system and whatnot. Back in the day, it's like if you didn't beat it, if a top 3 team in the nation didn't beat somebody by like 30 points, they're
drop.
They're drop or you don't move
100%.
up. It's like, 100%. Oh, you only beat NIU by a touchdown. Like, oh, you're dropping.
You're right.
You're like, what? What? Huh?
You're exactly right.
So That's what I like about this is like, it just, you get the win and you just move the hell on.
And I would just say this, Magoon Guath real quick, was 7 for 7 from the floor.
13 rebounds or 15 rebounds?
I don't have it in front of me. I think 13 rebounds, career high.
I think it was like, I think he went 15 and 13.
13 and 2 blocks, and he really had 2 more, if not for 2 fouls called on. This guy's a redshirt freshman. He's just been terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there have been highs and lows with Magoon Guath, but he's played like 15 or 20 college games, and he made such a big impact on that game.
15 points, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 13 rebounds.
7 for 7 from the floor.
7 for 7. He made a 3-pointer in the game.
Right?
4 offensive rebounds.
It's just that.
Must be nice.
Not bad. Not bad for a teenager.
Miles Bird, by the way, put together a really good game.
He
11
did.
points, 3 assists, 11 points, 3 steals, 9 assists, 4 boards. Like that's
didn't shoot it well, but 9 assists. That was a career high.
Yeah.
So again, Aztecs win at Nevada tomorrow night. 7:30 is the start time. Jim's been telling you it's a red out, and the first 5,000 fans get replica jerseys. That does not include Jim. I'll see if I can get you one. Did you guys get the Brent? You have a bobblehead in theory?
To the bobblehead?
Okay.
Where's mine?
We'll work on that.
What?
All right, we'll get to the wrap on the other side. Plus, still ahead, we're giving away Aztec tickets for Saturday. Sean and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. Super Bowl 59 is set as the Chiefs once again will be heading back to the Super Bowl after they beat the Bills last night 32-29. Eagles put up a double nickel, 55 points on the Commanders, most in NFC Championship game history. It's a rematch from a couple years ago in Arizona. Super Bowl 59 will be 2 Sundays from now. And the Aztecs take on San Jose State tomorrow night. Original tip time was 8 p.m. It's been moved up 7:30 p.m., 6:30 pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Buttrell is the buyer. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
All right, if you missed our conversation with Kevin Acee, who has written a ton on the Padres and their payroll and this lawsuit over the last 48 hours, if you missed it, we had a long conversation with Kevin earlier today. We'll play it back for you beginning at 5 p.m. And later this hour, your chance to win Aztec tickets for Saturday against the University of Wyoming. We're going to get to the wrap. What would you have something? It looks like you have something to say.
No.
Not really?
No, I want to get to
what?
Sound from Peter.
Oh.
We don't have to do it right now, but I wanted to hear from Peter Seidler from a couple years ago when he talked to Marty after the Juan Soto trade, and to hear Peter say this, and then just a couple years later have the message be this was part of the plan all along
to lower payroll
and to not make many moves and have to deal with the contracts that they have already signed and basically just rely on those guys for years to come. It doesn't really match up to me. Like, it just doesn't match up when you hear Peter say this right after the Juan Soto trade just a couple years ago.
Would the San Diego Padres ever be put off by a $500 million contract to one of the best players in baseball?
Never.
Short and sweet, to the point, very powerful. When Marty said, hey, will the Padres ever be scared of giving out another $500 million contracts to one of the best players in baseball? Because that was like the rumored price for Juan Soto at the time. And one word answer, never.
Yeah, I just don't get. I mean, there was an offseason where they tried to give Judge 400 and Turner 350 and Bogarts 280 and trading for Soto. I get things do change. We'll never truly know because Peter's no longer here.
Right.
But again, kind of actions speak louder than words, and his actions were committed to spending.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have, Jerkson gasoline Profar just, throwing out, the Padres had ownership problems, and it was really difficult for me to go back there. Never really offered me a contract. He didn't say that, but it was reported that the Padres weren't even close.
Right.
That's a trickle-down effect. That's like a complete 180 from where this organization was at a couple years ago. I couldn't imagine somebody saying, well, a couple years ago, the reason why we didn't, sign with the Padres is because they've had ownership problems. Because Peter was, it's far from that. Peter was, while some of the moves that were made, Xander Bogaerts and the $350 million extension to Manny might not in the end be the smartest moves. It's still hard to think that somebody would be like, yeah, we didn't go there because ownership problems. Like, no, are you serious?
You're right. I mean, that's why things have they've changed drastically. Whatever you think about them, they've changed, right? I mean, we'll see what happens on the other side, but everything has changed. And again, you can't bring someone back, unfortunately. He's a one-of-one character in the history of the Padres organization. And no matter what they do moving forward, things have certainly changed. All right, we'll give away Aztec tickets coming up, but right now, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
I will. I'll pick the Eagles, even though,
Homer.
Like I said, it's hard for. Shut up. It's hard for me to.
Sound like you really believe that.
I do believe that out of any team in the playoffs this year, the team that had the best chance to beat the Chiefs is and was the Eagles.
That's why they're in the Super Bowl.
I know. But even from the beginning, I go, look, if that's the Super Bowl matchup, to me, that's the only team I feel like that, they can take down the Chiefs.
Chiefs, 31-28, they'll win.
It's going to be some stupid 3-point game. They're going to score a field goal at the end. And
they'll run on the field like they won another Super Bowl.
And
they'll be favored again next year if they do it.
I'm just kind of interested to see. We kind of saw it yesterday, but I think the Chiefs can stop the tush push.
Ooh,
you think they can?
Well, they kind of, granted,
but Buffalo's
tush push isn't the Philly one, but they stopped Buffalo's numerous times yesterday
to watch the tush push.
Well, yes, but also like if you watched Josh Allen yesterday, doing a tush push, you got to go low, and he went high, and that was the problem.
And Philadelphia's like the originator of it, and they've had like a 98%
they've mastered
success
it.
rate.
Yeah, no, but they did enough scouting that they knew which guard Josh Allen liked to go, pick sides to and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think they could. I think they could stop it. Maybe not 100%, but I think they could stop it maybe once or twice ago.
They did or did not? They did not. No, but they won the Super Bowl.
I'd say they won the game, didn't they?
Next question.
Is Saquon Barkley having the best season by a running back ever? Ever.
It's got to be in consideration, right? Well, if he gets one more win.
Yeah, I mean, the stats do back it up. His numbers are ridiculous. I mean, first play of the game, yesterday, boom, 60-plus yard touchdown. It was like, this game's over.
And it was like spinning and this and that.
Like the Commanders had like a 17-play drive to squeak out 3 points. 18-play drive, 3 points. First play for the Eagles, boom, touchdown.
18 seconds.
You're like, it's going to be a long day, isn't it? I think he's having one of the best running seasons from a running back, but I gotta check to see who else.
So 2,005 yards in 16 games because he didn't play the 17th. Then listen to this in the postseason. 25 carries, 119 yards.
That's good.
26 carries, 205 and 2 touchdowns. Then 15 for 118 and 3. So he's ran for in the postseason 442 and 5 to go on top of 2,000. If he runs for another 101 plus touchdowns, that's 550 in the postseason plus 2,000. Again, maybe there's been a better season, but there haven't been two better seasons.
I will say, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Marshall Faulk's MVP year.
Okay.
Now, they didn't win the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, because Kurt Warner won the MVP in their Super Bowl winning year. And then the following year is when they faced the Patriots and they lost. If I'm not mistaken there.
Okay, so what year are you referencing?
2001?
I mean, he ran for 1,382 yards.
I'm just saying he won the MVP, right?
What year?
Well, he won the MVP one year.
Well, yeah, because he was an amazing, pass catcher, too.
Okay. Still a running back.
There was the year we had a 1,000-yard receiving year.
Maybe that's his MVP year. I forget what year his MVP year was.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Marshall Faulk, obviously, give me his
MVP
numbers
year.
are ridiculous. His MVP year was 2000, and he ran for 1,359, and he caught 830 yards worth of passes.
But they didn't win the Super Bowl that year, though, right? Or did they?
Dude, I don't know. They went 10-6, and they lost to the Saints in the first round.
Just kidding.
So that's not going to be the year, but maybe
No.
99 because he had 1,000 yards receiving plus
Maybe.
1,000 yards rushing.
My argument was going to be, Marshall Faulk won MVP in the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
I mean, Faulk's numbers are ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, LT had some ridiculous years. But yeah, I mean, does it matter that you win a Super Bowl in there? Probably.
Yeah, he has the numbers to back it up. So
Yeah. Next
it's
question.
Definitely really good.
Next question. Yes, good year.
Well,
his name is Brian.
I know, but
Not
it's
Brian
I know. I was debating whether I was just gonna read it the way it is. Will Brian Schottenheimer take the Cowboys to a Super Bowl? Not Bran.
That's funny.
You hear Jerry today crying?
Yeah, because he hired Brian
Exactly.
Well, he was saying
He's echoing the statements of Cowboys Nation right now.
He was crying because he was saying how great of a evaluator of talent he is when it comes to hiring head coaches.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Yeah. I mean,
Literally 30 years ago.
I mean, this guy will be gone in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Tops.
After 2 Super Bowl wins. Next question.
Is tomorrow a must-win game for the Aztecs?
Give me the net for San Jose State.
171.
Must-win game.
Yeah, they've been playing well, Jim. They've won 3 of 4. They've won 3 of 4 coming in.
Okay.
I think it'll be a decent game, but it is a must-win game.
Okay.
For San Diego State, technically a quad 4 game. They're kind of on the edge of that, but yeah, it's a must-win game.
Yeah, you're playing a quad 4 team. You got to win.
Got to get it as we approach February. Every game critically important right now for San Diego State.
Dude, sorry.
What do you got?
So we should talk about the Cowboys. They, they hired Brian Schottenheimer. They recently hired Matt Eberflus as their defensive coordinator, and they just announced that they hired former Niners defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen to be their special teams coach. I'm thinking to myself, you have like 3 main coaches on your roster: Brian Schottenheimer, Matt Eberflus, and Nick Sorensen, all hated by their former fan bases. And they're all like major coordinators with the Cowboys.
That's what's going to make this so special when they do the unthinkable and go 9-8 next year and miss out by a game in the postseason. All right, call right now if you want 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs on Saturday against the University of Wyoming back at Viejas Arena. First 2 callers will be our contestants. Tickets available right now at goaztecs.com. This is San Diego State and Wyoming. This will be Saturday at 5 p.m. So an amazing giveaway. 5 o'clock is the start time. San Diego State, Wyoming, Viejas Arena. First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. 877-767-4760. Call right now if you want a chance to win 2 free tickets to see San Diego State and Wyoming Saturday at Viejas Arena. 877-767-4760. We'll do trivia coming up next, and you'll hear from Kevin Acee at 5 p.m. This is Jon and Jim.
San Diego Sports Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Superstar Car Wash.
All right, so this is going to be this Thursday, Fire Aid benefit concert. This Thursday to raise money for rebuilding communities devastated by the wildfires and supporting efforts to prevent future fire disasters throughout Southern California. Broadcast on iHeartRadio stations nationwide and our free iHeartRadio app this Thursday, January 30th. For donations and concert information, visit fireaidla.org. So I got up last night because I'm like, what is that noise? I got up and I looked outside the window. I'm like, it's hard rain. It was raining for the first time in 10 months-ish.
9
months, thank you. It was raining for the first time in 9 months. I'm like, finally. That was maybe a good thing, the rain.
Rain is good right now.
Seemed good,
yes.
right?
Rain
We
is
could use
very
probably
good.
more of it.
Yes, I was very happy to see rain yesterday as well.
But Brent made the good call. It's like, is it even going to rain? Because yesterday where I lived, we were like dodging it all day, like drizzle. I'm like, here we go again.
It's not a full-on
rain.
Yeah, my house is like
night.
it was a mix between like drizzle and like mist.
Yeah, but did it rain for you guys hard last night? Seriously, because overnight,
I wouldn't say hard.
It
was an actual rain compared to what we usually get.
Like the movie Hard Rain. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, Kristen Slater.
It's like that. Rain was coming out hard.
Morgan Freeman.
You like that movie reference? It was
yeah,
about,
that's a deep cut for you, John. Actually.
It was about when it rained a lot. It's a really good movie.
Sort of.
Movie about rain.
All right. Coming up at 5 p.m., if you missed our conversation with Kevin Acee, who's been very active writing about the San Diego Padres and the lawsuit. You're so annoying.
Not as active as Jim's allergies.
You'll hear our conversation with Kevin coming up at 5 p.m., but right now, let's get to this.
Greetings. Here we go. Time for Team John versus Team Jim.
You want me to play?
3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Ron and we have Ryan. Ron, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I like Jim.
Oh, thanks, Ron. Appreciate that. Ryan, you get John as your partner, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, perfect. Brent, what's the question of the day?
All right, guys, the Super Bowl matchup is set. Today's question, can you name the 7 quarterbacks that have thrown 6 or more career touchdowns in Super Bowl history? So there's 7 quarterbacks that have thrown at least 6 or more touchdown passes in the Super Bowl.
All right.
Name them.
All right. Ryan, you're up first. What's your first guess? Do you have a lifeline if you want to use it?
Yeah, let's go with Mahomes.
Mahomes, probably good guess. He's on the list. Ron, you're up. What's your first guess? Do you have a lifeline if you want to use it?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's a good one.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on the list.
No way. Ryan, back to you. What is your second guess? Do you have a lifeline if you want to use it?
Let's go with Montana.
Joe Montana on the list.
Wow.
Who's up? Ryan? Ryan's up, right? Right? No.
Ron
is up. Sorry.
Ron's up.
Sorry. Stop. It's okay. Ron, you're up. What's your second guess? You have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Terry Bradshaw.
Terry Bradshaw on the list. All right. Ryan, back to you. What's your next guess? You have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going to go with Steve Young.
Steve Young on the list. I think he had 6 in one game or 5 in one game against the Chargers. Ron, back to you to go 3 for 3. What do you got?
Lifeline.
Okay.
Here's Jim to save the day.
I have one guess, but I don't think it's right, so I'm not going to say it.
Say it.
No, because
just say Jimmy G out loud.
No. I'm not going to say it. I was going to say Jim Kelly just because they played in 4, so that's my guess.
Yes, Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly for the tie. You are an idiot. Did you watch those games? Lost 100-0, 75 straight games. Are you serious, Jim Kelly? Did you see the games? They lost all of them but one.
You know what's going to make this?
3 years old. I did not watch the games.
You know what's going to make this hilarious? You guys just literally spent like 5 minutes talking about him.
Who?
Kurt Warner.
Oh my gosh! Of course, Kurt Warner.
You guys just spent 5 minutes talking about Marshall Faulk and Kurt Warner in that season.
I know he's played in 3 Super Bowls.
Jim Kelly.
He played in 4. So. How many touchdowns does he have in 4 Super Bowls?
4. Like 2.
Not enough to even make the list.
Oh my god!
So less than 2.
Freaking Thurman Thomas,
because
dude.
Jim Kelly didn't play in one because of what's his name, the backup.
Yeah, we played the other 3.
Was it? Who was the backup? Give me the backup. The name's on the tip of my tongue. Give me the backup. For the Bills that came in there and led them to Super Bowl.
Josh Allen.
Not Josh Allen.
It was Frank Wright, and he didn't play in the Super Bowl. He didn't play in the Super Bowl. He only played in that playoff
Jim
game.
Kelly started all 4.
I don't want to talk
Who
about
else is on this list?
That was everybody.
I thought there were 7.
Yeah. Well, Brent said 6, so there's one more.
Brady, Montana, Bradshaw, Roger Staubach.
No one said that.
I thought somebody said that.
Yeah, no one said that. All right, music. Bye-bye. Bye, music.
I'm an idiot.
Who won? Ryan?
Sure.
And Ron said he liked Jim.
I'm sorry, Ron.
That's unbelievable.
I failed you.
All right, Ryan, congratulations. You've won a pair of tickets to see the Aztecs take on Wyoming Saturday at 5 p.m. at Viejas Arena. If tickets are available, they would be at goaztecs.com. San Diego State, Wyoming, Saturday. We have Aztec basketball tomorrow night. Again, note the start time change of 7:30. Initially, it was an 8 o'clock start, a 7:30 start tomorrow. Our pregame coverage will begin outside at 6:30. And that is a free Aztec replica jersey night. That's tomorrow, not Saturday. Free Aztec replica jersey night. All right, Jim. Well,
all right, John.
You
Jim Kelly had 2 touchdowns.
Oh my god.
Hold on. He had a passer rating of 56.9 with 829 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions in his 4 Super Bowls.
Wow.
I was thinking about interceptions, not touchdowns.
Yeah, you would. He's probably the all-time interception leader in Super Bowl history.
What awful numbers.
Those aren't great numbers.
No
it
one
wasn't great, man.
No one talks about Jim Kelly being. Imagine if First Take or all that those stupid
Existed
shows,
then?
like the Nick Wright show was around during the Bills' 4 Super Bowl
No,
trips.
but it wasn't good.
Oh my god!
Having lived through them as like a teenager or something, it wasn't good. I mean, they were blasted.
The discourse would have been incredible.
It already was.
Well,
like 4 straight was not good even then.
I know, but still, there was not that social media. Like no one talks about that anymore.
Jim Kelly's 2nd most interceptions in Super Bowl history.
No one's like, dude, Jim Kelly, what a loser.
Who's got the
bum.
most, Brady?
Nope.
Mahomes?
John Elway.
John Elway.
That makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah, 1989 was not a good year for John in the Broncos.
But he won eventually.
Dude, can you imagine seriously like being a diehard Bills fan today?
No, I couldn't.
I wouldn't sleep for 16 days. And if I was that tight end, Kincaid, I wouldn't sleep for 23 days.
That wasn't as
I wouldn't go through a table for at least a week.
that wasn't as easy as a catch as the Mark Andrews drop.
True, but it's the NFL. The season's on the line. You have never gotten by them. Catch the ball.
The Mark Andrews drop was way worse because of how easy it was. It was a tough catch, but credit to Josh Allen. I didn't even think he got close. And when you watch on replay, it was like a dot. And he dropped
I'm just surprised there's not more conversation about, like, I'm with you. Is it the easiest play in NFL history? Of course not. But I'm a little surprised there hasn't been like more conversation about it. Like
it's all about Josh Allen and how he choked.
Exactly. It's not
but he
about
didn't
Dalton
choke. He played really well.
Yeah, he did. He played well.
Like blame Sean McDermott. He gave the Chiefs 7 yards per play on defense. He's the defensive coordinator.
Right.
He's the defensive guy. You know?
All right, I'll blame him.
Like you gave up 32 points. And it's the first time all year the Chiefs scored over 30. So maybe you should have maybe you should be the one that's taking the blame here instead of Josh, who has only played really good, exceptional games against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
By the way, what a surreal 3 years for Matt Ariza. He'll play in the Super Bowl for the Chiefs.
Wow.
2 weeks from yesterday. Yeah. And by the way, a former Bill drafted by Buffalo will play in the Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
In less than 2 weeks. Will we see him? If Kansas City's offense looks good, we might not. All right, on the other side, if you missed it, Kevin Acee on the lawsuit, on the Padres spending or lack thereof this offseason. You'll hear the interview in its entirety in the 5 p.m. hour. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
San Diego Sports Traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Jim Buttrell Real Estate Team.
Eastbound Highway 94 is going to be slow coming out of downtown out to the 805. We've got a crash eastbound 94 at home out.
We'll start with football. The Super Bowl is set. Super Bowl 59 will be a rematch from 2 years ago. Eagles and Chiefs in New Orleans. 2 Sundays from now. Chiefs are a 1.5-point favorite right now in the game. And tomorrow night, San Diego State takes on San Jose State. 7:30 tip time. Originally it was 8 p.m., but it got moved up by 30 minutes. 6:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell is the buyers. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
The Padres, with all their arbitration-eligible players, have their payroll up to $200 million. Top 10 payroll in the sport. So is everything fine, or is it somewhere in between?
I don't know how you can say everything is fine when you look at this offseason and how it's transpired. I really don't. We aren't sitting here dealing with hypotheticals. We're dealing with what we see and what we've known and what has happened. Like, we are discussing what has happened. Well, in this case, nothing's happened.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. I would like to say, Jim, that we had a far-reaching conversation with Kevin Acee. Wide-ranging and far-reaching.
Yeah, very wide-ranging. I'm thank you to Kevin for coming on with us today, because a lot of conversation over the weekend involving his pieces that he wrote. So glad that he came on.
Yes, I'm glad he did as well. So he wrote about the Padres payroll. He wrote about this lawsuit. We started the conversation. If you missed it, you're going to hear it in its entirety. It's about 20-plus minutes. You'll hear half of it right now and then half of it after a break. But we started the conversation asking about his article about the Padres having potentially a top 10 payroll, but fans thinking it's been a doom and gloom offseason. So what is it? Is it good, bad, or somewhere in between?
Yeah, a little bit of both, right? Yes, a little early for it to be bad or for it to be good. I've been in this business a long time. Looks pretty foolish talking about things in December and January and even February and March that were going to happen in August and September. You look back at the history of this team and the moves they've made late, the moves they've made in season. And it is something. And I just thought, especially with Jurickson Profar's comments then being taken as sort of a siren call, it was obviously something that it's been on a lot of people's minds. The issue with the ownership, is that why nothing's happening? And I just thought, gosh, I've been thinking about this a long time. Like, no matter who the owner was, like, he was gonna be paying these bills now, and he or she, whoever was in charge of this team at this point, was going to be strapped with certain contracts. And hopefully the idea would be that those players are going to be really good and be the core of the team, and that then you could supplement. And, it really didn't matter who was going to, or who's in charge. It also kind of doesn't matter who signed these players, because the owner of the team now is paying those players. And I think it's interesting that kind of like the perception of the missives that I get via email and other ways, that there's like a fire sale or what have you, or that, they're automatically not interested in winning. I just don't think that is the case. As a matter of fact, I think the evidence says that that's not the case.
Okay. Well, I think the evidence to a lot of fans and to us is, there's nothing happening, Kevin. And right. When the message from the team, which I think this is what fans get really upset with, is the continuation of saying, we're going to honor Peter's legacy to win our first World Series championship. And a lot of people interpret Peter's legacy as doing whatever they can, the franchise, to win at all costs, making risks, signing players, making moves. And with none of that happening, and with rumors constantly swirling about cutting payroll and moving guys like Michael King and going to arbitration for the first time and not re-signing Jurickson Profar, I think it's really hard for fans to look at that and not be upset and say, hold on, what is going on here? And why are you using Peter's name and his legacy as something, that you're telling fans, but it's not, your actions are not matching your words.
Okay. And like a lot of that is like, I understand, and it is valid. and not to. One of the things I look back at and I go, how did 2023 work out? I'm not saying that it couldn't have. As a matter of fact, it should have. And I'm just like, what they've done in the off season has not always translated into what happened during the season. And that's where I get a little lost. I just do. I really like the season and how things play out, right? And I get to cover games and, oh, okay, now we're understanding why this team is good or bad. But the signing of players, like I remember wondering who the left fielder and the center fielder were last year and who was going to round out the pitching staff, and where the offense was really going to come from. And, and my goodness, did this team look different in April, May, June, July, August than it did to all of us in January or February. Now, I've pointed out several times that AJ Preller, whether it was brilliance, luck, both, nailed virtually everything last year. And you know what? He's probably going to have to again, based on what it looks like right now, right? So I'm not saying just because you did it last year means that you're going to do it next year. But I think there's lots of evidence, as a matter of fact, 2021 and 2023, that an exciting offseason doesn't result in the kind of team you want. I think Peter's vision, to a certain extent, is being honored by they're not doing a fire sale. I mean, they are paying these players that they are on their roster, and they say, I understand maybe they could be more out in front of it in terms of public discourse. Maybe there'll be some Q&As, or I don't know, at FanFest this Saturday. I don't know what they're going to say that's going to satisfy all of us, but like they say they're going to field a competitive team. And that was really Peter's vision. The fact that it was interpreted by a lot of people that they were going to always be in the top 5 in payroll or something. I don't know that, anybody right now should be held responsible for what people's interpretation was of that.
Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. He's back with us right now at San Diego Sports 760. I'm glad you went there with the payroll, because you wrote that, it's in the 200 range right now. It's not complete, obviously. Like you said, it's January. And I think you wrote it'll probably be around their opening day. But you'd also reported, right, and I've seen other reporting, that their payroll would be more in line with 2024. And 2024 was under $200 million. There have been other reports that maybe Dylan Cease or even Michael King could be on the trade block. So do you expect this payroll to be maintained, or is there still a scenario where they try to shed payroll to get back to where they were and assure themselves of staying under the CBT?
I think that they have decided that they're going to be around the 200 mark. Multiple people have said that, that I believe that is what they expect to do. I think that we were all kind of going on, all right, so they said, we were being told, me, other people reporting this, that it was going to be greater than it was, but less than it currently was, right? Like when they had all these, they have all these arbitration figures, that they're the arbitration guys that are going to make a lot of money. And so we didn't know where it was going to be. It's coming into focus to a certain extent that it's going to be around 200. As I wrote, to make additions, it still appears they have to make subtractions. I don't see any way that they don't. And I think the activity that they have at least tried to be involved in terms of trades shows they cannot add without also subtracting, because they have some big contracts. And gosh, I honestly don't know what that is, where they subtract. But I don't see how all of these guys making 8 to 20, whatever it is, are here with the team come opening day or shortly into the season. I just don't see how that's possible if you are going to put someone besides who's the kid, Lockridge. If you're going to put, I'm not saying he's not going to, I'm just saying if you're going to put someone besides Brandon Lockridge in left field, if you're going to, have if you're going to fill out your starting rotation, if you're going to have somebody besides Martin Maldonado and Luis Campusano at catcher, I don't see how you are going to keep all of these guys.
There is a lawsuit going on, and I'm sure there's some legal things that have to take place first before maybe publicly speaking on it. But have you heard anything from the organization that whoever's in charge of this team will be speaking to the fans at any point? Because I feel like right now, with all the fans in the dark, everything's left up for, people to make up their own minds instead of actually hearing from the Padres in the organization and kind of being quiet on this whole thing. That feels kind of like a real big miss to me.
Totally get it. Like, I mean, yes, right? Me too, right? As the guy who would like to have information to be able to dispense it. On the other hand, Eric Kacenda is the chairman right now. So I think it's a different question than you're asking. Eric Kacenda could be talking about the team right now. Sure, absolutely. That's not his style. It's not most major league owners' style. You can't have Jon Seidler out there right now because he hasn't been approved by Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, the usual spring training address, I would imagine some stuff when whoever the new control person is, expected to be Jon Seidler, whoever that is, that he'll be introduced. And at that time, I'm assuming there's going to be some questions about all of this.
Do you know what Jon Seidler looks like? Have you seen him at Petco Park before, Kevin?
I probably have seen him, and I've seen pictures, obviously. I've never talked to him. That I recall. I don't want to be caught in that, but my absolute recollection is I have never met Jon Seidler. 2012 was a long time ago. I'm not sure. But like most people, couldn't pick him out probably.
All right, interesting. All right, so we'll continue that conversation on the other side. We'll continue the conversation with Kevin Acee on the other side because I react to the very thing that he was responding to. But we'll do that on the other side. Here until 6 p.m. Kevin Acee with Jon and Jim earlier today on the lawsuit on Padres payroll heading into 2025. More with Kevin Acee coming up next.
San Diego sports traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
Southbound 5 still heavy through downtown San Diego from about Old Town Avenue down to the 54. We have a disabled vehicle in lanes on the southbound 5 at the 94 East connector. And then eastbound 94 at Home Avenue near the 805. An earlier crash is still clearing. I'm Darren Edwards with a look at San Diego traffic.
My Lowe's Rewards Week is coming, and it's kind of a big deal. Members, get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items.
All right, continuing our conversation earlier with Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, and we were just going back and forth on could he pick Jon Seidler out, right? Who's going to be representing ownership moving forward. And then I continued with this question about Sheel, which would bring me to my next question about Sheel Seidler, because again, a lot of the, you wrote about this in your article today, lawsuit interviews offer differing accounts of Sheel Seidler's past role with the Padres. And you interviewed a lot of people that would have some of this information, and there was maybe consensus. I don't want to speak out of turn. You can speak on your reporting, but there was this consensus that maybe she wasn't intimately involved with the organization while Peter was running the club, but also Jon Seidler hasn't necessarily been intimately involved with the club necessarily either, as in the fact that she hasn't, quote unquote, been intimately involved, those are my words, does that therefore rule her out from rightful, chairman moving forward of the San Diego Padres?
No, not on its own. I'm answering your question. Not at all. The trust, look, all I'm doing is reporting, and the story that you referenced, talked to, I believe it was probably 17 people. After 15, I know that it didn't reach 20. It was a lot of reporting went into the story. The story on its own was about her claims in the lawsuit that she was intimately involved. She was Peter's partner. She was involved in deciding on players and that sort of thing. And so the reporting there is kind of unequivocally that that's not the case. So that's that. Does that disqualify her? Absolutely not. What the trust would argue disqualifies her is that she doesn't get to choose, and that the trustee gets to choose, and that Peter made his brothers in succession, Robert, Matt, John, trustees. In Major League Baseball, in almost all circumstances, wants the trustee of a trust to be the control person when that trust owns the primary share of a club. So, like, the logic there that they're following is Peter did not name Sheel. And so that's just fact. He did not name Sheel as a successor trustee. She's not in charge of it. So that's a fact. What my reporting over the past 3 weeks, and I would say my reporting over the past 3 weeks lined up with what my understanding was in numerous conversations with Peter and others over the years, was that Peter never mentioned her as a potential control person. And that's really all that's at stake. Like, I mean, an amazing story if Peter had named her, or whatever it is that Sheel Seidler was going to be the control person of the Padres. That would be an amazing story. Peter Seidler, beloved Peter Seidler's widow, a woman of Indian descent, I believe would be the first of, the first, I don't know what I'm going to say, like all minorities, but certainly the first woman of Indian descent, like all these firsts. That'd be great. It would be, I mean, my gosh, just the idea of Peter's widow, that would be great. That's not what's at issue here, though.
And in this article, people claiming that she had nothing to do or has had nothing to do with everyday operations with the Padres. You also stated that she did help recruit Manny Machado in 2019 by reaching out to his wife, Yanni, and remains close with the couple. Wouldn't that contradict those claims that she has had nothing to do with that? And no, that she has nothing to do with anything.
If we're going on the absolute word of nothing, then yes. My understanding is that has kind of been a role that the wives of team owners have often played. Hey, maybe the husband of team owners, the spouse of team owners have played. I don't know, but I don't know where you're going with that. It's like nothing. What was characterized, and that's all the story was about, was that it was characterized that she was intimately involved, that she was Peter's right-hand man, basically.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, because so are they paralyzed by this lawsuit? Like I see the quotes from Sheel. Obviously, the trust has issued statements. It's a back and forth going on. We've seen how it's played out in other organizations: Baltimore Orioles, Denver Broncos, New York Mets. Some of these take years to litigate. Some are settled, some aren't. You've written through your own reporting that maybe some have speculated they have been paralyzed by this lawsuit. Is this negatively impacting their ability to win on field in any way, in your opinion?
We'll have to wait and see. I absolutely see the argument that it could. Look, if they end up not signing anybody, and obviously they have to sign some people, but like if they end up not improving their team in some way or putting out a playoff caliber team, I think we would all be right to go, hey, wait a minute, like that's not what you guys promised us. And if that's not what you promised us, because by the way, you cut $100 million in payroll last year and you made the playoffs, but you did it by making your team better in creative ways. And you did invest by, taking on Dylan Cease's contract at the end of the year, taking on minimal, but taking on some money. So like that we can buy that was, furthering Peter's vision. But if we are looking back on this 2025 season and they didn't do that, then I would say yes. Right now, yeah, it's a pretty safe speculation, I would say. Like, look, they haven't done anything. And so it's really easy to go, oh, wow, the ownership thing is really paralyzing them. That's certainly the rumors around Major League Baseball, but you got to be careful of those too. I was also hearing at the owners meetings, the winter meetings, they were being sold. I mean, there's rumors like all over the place, and there's things being said. I think I don't want to overstate the reporting that was done on the Roki Sasaki, but that we saw the reporting, I think, in two places, maybe the LA Times, ESPN, or at least one of them, right, where the Dodgers used it, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly what that meant, but we saw that. So yeah, I can't say it's not affecting them, but for us to sit here and like be like that, it's whatever it is. Let's say you come down on the side of Sheel Seidler's lawsuit is wrecked this team, or you come down on the side of the Seidler brothers, Matt and Robert and John, they're ruining this team. I don't think that you can say that.
Mm-hmm. And I don't. I mean, look, this is all he said, she said type of battle at this moment in time until this thing goes to court and gets settled. But picking a side is picking a side, but shouldn't it be like the fans has to come first here? I mean, this feels like, two parents and a child getting caught in the middle of a divorce where the child's going to suffer. And right now, going forward, we have yet to see potential outcomes of this lawsuit, but the road that this looks like it's going down potentially is that the fans will be suffering from this potentially for a while.
Yeah, that's fair, and this does suck, man. Like, we got one major league team left, and now it's in the middle of this thing, right? When we're whatever it is, 8-9 years removed from having what was at the time by far the most popular team in town, and another civic treasure. That they're always reminding us, right, that it belongs to the fans. That they're just the stewards. So absolutely, I mean that's. Being in the middle of a divorce or whatever, that's a good analogy. It sucks. I mean, yeah. But how I or anyone else could answer, like, shouldn't the fans come first? Well, sure, but like, even Peter Seidler was a businessman. I mean, I don't know how to answer. I don't know how to say, how can the fans come first? Sheel Seidler gets what she deserves, her and her children deserve, and the Seidlers who are, what should they do to make this right? Because the fans, I don't know how to answer that, but I will wholeheartedly agree with you that this is awful. This is really sucks that the fans of San Diego have to go through this.
And final one for me, Kevin, because you've said this to us before. And I kind of did a double take, and you wrote this in your article as well. And I just wanted to get confirmation from you because I know you're reporting and everything. You reported that Peter was never a billionaire. So right. Can you explain the difference, I guess, between like his net worth looking up online to him not being a billionaire that you have reported?
He's not a billionaire. I don't know. Like, he's just not, he's not, his net worth is not $1 billion.
Okay.
I don't know what AI generated or what Sportskeeda, which I don't even know what that is. But yes, I've seen several places about his work being, well, his company had at one point, or maybe now does, which is a private equity firm, controls whatever $5 billion in. That's by no means Peter Seidler's money. By no means is that Peter Seidler's money. But like when Steve Cohen, he's writing a check for Juan Soto. Peter Seidler was not doing that. I think that's sometimes where I wonder, when it is stated so emphatically by people about what Peter did or how he did it or his worth. Well, what about the $50 million loan that they had to take out at the end of the season, and they got in trouble with MLB? And by the way, Peter did kick in the trust while Peter was sick. So Peter basically did kick in another $50 million to cover the $100 million shortfall. What about that? If Peter was just writing checks freely, why did that happen? There's what about the $100 million capital call? I don't know if it was 2021, 22, whatever. It's been a long couple of weeks. To other owners, the rest of the owners, that was not all Peter Seidler's money, and so I get confused by that. So I have to sort of just be okay, well, I know kind of what the truth is, so I'll just keep reporting the truth. There's only so much I can do to tell people he was not among the MLB's richest owners. Which is a part of the reason, good for you, Peter. Right on. What you did and what you were doing. That's awesome, man. Shame on these other guys that weren't doing it, that probably, if you want to look at it from those of us who don't have billions of dollars and it's easy for us to spend other people's money, we could be why aren't those guys doing it when Peter Seidler was doing it? But Peter Seidler had an awful lot of people to answer to in terms of where that money was coming from. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't speak to why it is so erroneously out there that Peter Seidler was a billionaire.
Maybe because he said, I'm not scared to hand out $500 million checks. He did it so impressively. Truthfully, impressively.
Yeah.
If to not have that money and be willing to potentially hand down $500 million contracts. Kevin, appreciate it. We know there's a lot here. We appreciate you doing it and coming on. You don't have to do that. I appreciate you coming on after I texted you earlier. So thanks for hopping on.
Take care, John.
All right. All right. We'll react to that. Our conversation with Kevin Acee. We are here until 6 p.m. with Jon and Jim.
Don't skip out on OG's this new year. They've added delicious and healthy new items like the refreshing beet salad and the delicious Mediterranean salmon bowl. OG's has it all. And don't forget, OG's is the place to catch the exciting playoff action and the big game. Come in and enjoy your favorite pizza and a brew, or schedule your big game catering order ahead of time and enjoy all your OG's favorites from your home. Whatever you want, OG's has got you covered. Find your nearest location at OG's.com.
Kick off Mexican Heritage Night with the San Diego Seals. Tailgate fun starts at 4:30 with SoCal Pro Wrestling Match, face painting, taco trucks, $5 beers, and activities for the whole family. Then it's game time at 7 p.m. Visit SealsLAX.com for tickets.
Kaiser Permanente reminds you to eat healthy and get active during your lunch break. That's why they partnered with Cravings Fruit Bar to provide local businesses with healthy lunches for their office. To enter to win, visit sportssd.com/healthy lunch.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with some cool tips for an efficient refrigerator. First, set your fridge between 35 to 38 degrees Fahrenheit to keep food fresh. Second, let leftovers cool on the counter before storing them in the fridge. Lastly, keep the door closed to maintain a cool environment. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. For more smart, sustainable living tips or to take action in your own community, visit iHeartRadio.com/earth.
Is credit card debt ruining your life? Did you know you have a right to settle that debt for much less than you owe? DebtBlue has helped people just like you resolve millions of dollars of high-interest credit card debt. They can help with payment relief, the burden of rising inflation, and have a large portion of your debt wiped clean. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, a free 10-minute phone call could save you thousands. Discover how to reduce or completely resolve your credit card debt. In fact, we're so sure that we can reduce your debt that we offer the DebtBlue Success Guarantee. We don't get paid unless your debt gets reduced or resolved, so there's absolutely no risk to call. For your free debt resolution plan, call 800-375-1158. That's 800-375-1158. The call is free. The consultation is free. The more you owe, the more you can save. Call now. 800-375-1158.
This update is brought to you by the Jim Patrol Real Estate Team. Super Bowl 59 is set. It'll be a rematch from a couple years ago. Chiefs and Eagles in New Orleans. Chiefs right now are a 1.5-point favorite. Tomorrow night, San Diego State takes on San Jose State. 7:30 tip time. They moved the game up by a half hour at Viejas Arena. 6:30 pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Patrol is the buyer. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
All right, a reminder, download the new iHeartRadio app. Search for Jon and Jim and San Diego Sports 760. Put it in your presets. The all-new iHeartRadio app. Jim's back page is ahead. Aztec basketball, like Jim said, is tomorrow night at 7:30. Our pregame coverage will begin at 6:30. So, yeah, a lot there, I would say, with Kevin from a pretty lengthy 20, 25-minute conversation from earlier. I don't know if we got to the bottom of anything. I don't know how long it's going to take to get to the bottom of, truthfully.
Yeah, there's nothing that's going to be answered right now. And I think all fans really want is just for the team to make a freaking move to try to get better. Like, none of these minor league contracts are going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's the move that's going to make the team better? That's what fans really care about. Yes, the lawsuit's a big deal. Yes, the control of the team is a big deal. Yes, the potential sell of the team in the future is a big deal. But those things aren't going to be answered right now. The only thing fans truly care about at this moment in time is what the team is going to look like for the 2025 season. And are they going to be better than last year's team? And are they going to make a run? And are they going to get past the Dodgers in the postseason again? Can that happen this year? And right now, that's what fans mostly care about. Like, making a move. If they signed Jurickson Profar, you know how much of this stuff would have died down?
Yeah, probably a good amount of it.
You know, if they signed Michael King to a contract extension, you know how much would die down?
Probably a decent amount.
If they not re-signed, but if they gave Jackson Merrill a contract extension, like, you gotta not appease the fans, but you gotta do something to take the heat off you. And it would behoove them to do that because they need that. And they also need to improve this team.
Yeah, that's why I think speaking isn't really going to do much.
It really won't.
I think when we hear from, maybe it's still Eric Ascenda in February, maybe it's Sheel Seidler, maybe it's a combination of Groupner, Preller, whatever it is. You can say whatever at this point. And again, it's not like they're coming off a 60-win season and you're like, the full sky's falling. I mean, it's hard to believe they won 93 games and a playoff series a year ago. So, again, maybe they're looking at, like, do we really have to say anything? Like, we're coming off our best regular season since 1998. Like, what else do you want from us other than that? And some of that is fair. And there's nothing they can say. Jon Seidler's not going to come out and be like, we're going to win a World Series in 2025. Like, he can't say that.
No.
And what he can say is we're going to honor Peter's legacy. And then someone like you and I are going to come on and be like, well, you're not doing that.
Right. And so, again, actions speak louder than words. And it would behoove them to, whenever they're speaking, to have a move to at least talk about.
Yeah. They need a move. They need a move.
Like something. And yes, a lot of this is on Preller because he pulls the triggers and he is the guy that has to make the moves, and that's what he gets paid to do.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, Preller makes some moves, but I also don't put a lot of blame on him for not making these signings because he's under directive orders to keep the number at X amount.
Would you be appeased if the Padres announced what the Texas Rangers announced today, which is a brand new TV network called the Rangers Sports Network that they had been working on for months on end, reportedly, and they've come to terms on a Rangers Sports Network? Would that quiet the masses? You've been pushing the TV deal is slowing down the Padres narrative, as have I.
I mean, 60. Dave's sitting there like, I told you so.
Right. I mean, they lost out apparently on $60 million when Bally Sports went under. Rangers today announced the formation of the Rangers Sports Network, club-affiliated entity to handle teams' broadcasting deals. Is this what you're looking for? Is this what we're looking for? What even is this?
It's not run by Major League Baseball because the Padres are run by Major League Baseball. At the very end of this article, it says a few others turned broadcasting rights to Major League Baseball, which will make those teams' games available in market on MLB.TV. The Rangers took a different path than every other team that had previously contracted with Diamond. This is, it sounds like it is the formation of what they will bring to streaming platforms or whatever to sell. It's like the Pac-12 media rights deal. Like they need something to bring to the table.
Right.
Like they need the teams to bring to the TV rights holders and be like, hey, here's what we're going to sell. And so the Rangers are like, here's what we're selling to you as part of our package that we want you to buy.
Whatever happened, not that San Diegans want to watch the Clippers and the Ducks every night, but Bally's had Clippers and Ducks as well as in order to fill content in the offseason. Where did the Clippers and Ducks go after this network went away? My point is, are they dealing with it too? And like this Ranger Sports Network, why can't, and probably easier said than done, I'm sure Eric Rupner's had this idea, why can't you go to the Clippers and the Ducks or that type of franchise in Southern California and be like, why don't we go at this together? We're like, why can't we go at this together? Similar to this Ranger Sports Network. Why can't we go into the content business together in an effort to get these games on TV, in an effort to gain revenue and distribution? Right now, what is the distribution? It's Your View, Cox Channel 4, MLB.TV.
That's
basically it, right?
Yeah.
Is that covering that doesn't seem like it's covering a wide swath of your potential viewing audience.
No.
Right? Because you and I, YouTube TV, out of luck.
Yeah, out of luck. In this article, it says, by creating their own network, the Rangers can negotiate contracts with different cable and streaming providers to handle in-market broadcasting. They've already negotiated one such streaming partnership with Victory Plus, the platform that also has a streaming deal with the National Hockey League's Dallas Stars. The Rangers plan to announce additional deals with cable and broadcasting television providers in the coming days.
I mean, you'd think something like that would at least be realistic.
Must be nice.
Like someone said, in the chat, Manny McNuggets, Angels are still on Bally's. Now, Angels can claim the LA market, so it's probably a different conversation. But are we is this done now? Like the Padres will never have, to your point, there'll never be a rights deal ever again except through Major League Baseball? Are the days of the rights deal for the San Diego Padres gone while their neighbors to the north are getting $340 million a year?
Well, then they're screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you have teams like the Diamondbacks are also dealing with the same issues, and they just handed out
Corbin Burns
$200 million contract to Corbin Burns. Their payroll, I checked today, it's $180 million.
Well, that's
right around where the Padres allegedly want to be.
Right. Well, the Padres are $200 million.
And I don't hear any Diamondbacks people crying broke.
You don't?
I don't listen to much Diamondbacks stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't care about other teams. I care about the Padres, and to go this long without any update or any advancement on a potential TV deal
it's a fair point.
Is kind of ridiculous at the end of the day.
Right.
I mean, if this is truly what they're going to do, then tell us that. Say, hey, look, we tried, but at the end of the day, we are moving forward with Major League Baseball for the foreseeable future. End of discussion. Or, like Eric Grupner has talked about when asked about this, made it seem like they're working on something for the future.
Right. So last year, Padres TV was on Cox Channel 83, Spectrum 305, AT&T Uverse, DirecTV, and Fubo.
Okay.
You were wondering what the Clippers went to. When Bally SoCal shut down, it turned into FanDuel Sports Network.
Go get on that.
So, yeah, that's where the Clippers and the Kings are now on FanDuel Sports Network.
I mean, stream on YouTube.
I don't know what happened to the Ducks.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean?
You could get some big time.
YouTube will probably. I was going to say, go get what's it called? Go get whatever we get in ad revenue on YouTube. Just pocket that.
Google.
Stream your games and then get Google AdSense. That's probably more than they're getting right now, man.
Probably.
Just use Google AdSense to raise your TV revenue.
They would get if they got like 200,000 views a game.
That's what I'm saying.
Make some good revenue off that.
Some real money.
Yeah, a couple $100,000 a week.
I would love to hear. I'd love to know what they're getting in TV. Not that it really. I guess at the end of the day, does it matter what they get in TV? I think it does their overall payroll.
It's above my pay grade to
it is.
Break it down a TV deal, but
you want a TV deal.
I want a TV deal because I mean Kevin puts it out there. The Padres have one of, if arguably the worst TV deals in all of baseball. How is that not affecting this team? It has to.
Right. Angels, Clippers, Kings, Ducks on FanDuel Sports Network, who bought Bally Sports Network. All right, Jim's back page on the other side. We're here until 6.
San Diego Sports Traffic.
This report is sponsored by San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
In Carmel Valley, eastbound 56 at Camino del Sur, got some metal debris in travel lane. CHP is going to try to get that cleared out. Eastbound 94, still seeing some brake lights coming out of the downtown area. Had an earlier crash on the eastbound 94 at the 805. That's into the final clearing stages. I'm Darren Edwards with a look at San Diego traffic.
All February, guests 65 and older enter free at San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Enjoy the sights on the Africa Tram. Come face to face with tigers. Enjoy refreshments at Kajami Overlook. There's something for everyone at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
I owe the IRS $37,000.
Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies. They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-506-5803. 800-506-5803. Don't wait. Call now. 800-506-5803. 800-506-5803.
Yellowstone fans, your journey into the Yellowstone universe starts here.
Let's go to work.
Join Bobby Bones on the official Yellowstone podcast as he dives deep into the franchise's legacy. From exclusive cast interviews to untold behind-the-scenes stories, explore the drama, themes, and culture that make Yellowstone a global phenomenon.
I look forward to it.
Listen now on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open the iHeart app, search the official Yellowstone podcast, and start listening today.
Don't go through another year with all that high interest debt. Let Loan Pronto wipe it all out now. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. Loan Pronto's rapid equity loan makes it easy to pay off all your credit cards or tackle that 2025 home improvement project. Get cash in your pocket fast with no appraisals or paperwork or waiting. Loan Pronto's AI-driven tech get you approved and funded in as little as 1 day. One client got $150,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off all their credit cards, 2 cars, a personal loan, saving over $1,500 per month. With low fixed rates and lightning fast transfers, you can do it too. Consolidate debt, improve your home, take control of your finances. Imagine being credit card debt free by this time next week. Don't wait. Call Loan Pronto now. 619-207-4336 or visit loanpronto.com. Get your free quote now, 619-207-4336, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Not all heroes wear capes. That's why San Diego County Credit Union is honoring local teachers in San Diego County through the SDCCU Classroom Heroes program. Nominate an outstanding teacher that has made an impact in the lives of students, and they could win a $500 Visa gift card and be featured on CBS 8. SDCCU. It's not big bank banking, it's better. Nominate online at sdccu.com/classroom heroes.
It's gonna feel good to be back on the Mesa. We'll be live at Viejas Arena tomorrow night when the San Diego State Aztecs.
5 miles, high deep, puts a running.
Final time, Jon and Jim. Another busy Monday. Back with you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Again, you ready for Aztec basketball tomorrow night at 7:30 against San Jose State as we near February, believe it or not. February. It's coming, Jim. It's after January. It's before March.
You're going to miss my birthday. I'm really disappointed in that.
Whatever.
Like he knew when your birthday was.
Yeah, first of all, yes, it is true. I'm not here next week.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
All week?
All week.
Oh, Brent didn't know. I mean,
nobody tells me anything.
It's not my job. It's in some email. Mary sends out the weekly emails. Here's the vacation schedule.
You can open your emails, Brent.
I don't know if she sent that email
Yeah,
out.
she didn't.
Oh, she didn't?
Oh,
No.
Just call her.
Did she not?
Not yet. She updates.
I mean,
it,
I go to work day. I put in my vacation. She said yes, and I leave.
Okay.
So Jim will have you covered for the Eagles, Niners, or whoever's playing this. So Eagles, Chiefs. Is it Eagles, Niners, Eagles, Chiefs? Eagles, Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, she didn't say.
Jim will have you covered for that.
Okay.
Are you going to be on Radio Row solo? Are you going to New Orleans?
Aaron asked me the other day, can we go to New Orleans? I go, are you just, no.
Go.
No.
Celebrate your birthday with Aaron. Enjoy it.
No.
Get all the stuff, all the Eagles stuff.
One, she looked at tickets. Now, there was no thought of actually
look at tickets.
There was no thought of ever going to the game. We just looked because it was a fun exercise.
Right.
The get-in price is like $6,000
of course.
for the last row.
It's almost like it's the Super Bowl.
It is the Super Bowl.
Right.
So to spend thousands of dollars to go to New Orleans, then thousands of dollars to go to the game, and there's a high likelihood that they're going to lose
by 3 points.
And she'll be pissed. And I'll be pissed.
Dude, do it, be a man. I'd be
because
so
they spent us money.
If you drop $20K to go to New Orleans, get 2 tickets at $6K each plus the travel, and they lose 32-28, I will buy you lunch. I will be so impressed.
You
if
should just
do
be like,
that.
no, we have to stay here. Remember, last time we went to Arizona and they lost.
That's what I said. And I told her, like, emphatically, like, no. She's like, it'd be cool, though. I'm like, no, it would not be fun to go to New Orleans to watch the game in a random bar.
Do you think if the game goes to overtime, the Eagles take the ball if they win the toss?
Dude, I hate
to say it, but like it could happen.
And all we're gonna see this week and leading up to the Super Bowl is that game from last year where they
just
flipping knife in the stomach. Just
first play overtime, Barkley 78 yards. And they fumbles at the 1. Chiefs go 99 yards the other way to win. He drops it.
He drops it at the goal line. Yeah.
Some dude picks it up and just walks down the field. Chiefs win.
Oh my god!
It's a big game. It'll be 2 weeks from yesterday.
Is it a must win?
Yeah, it is. It's a must win game.
Eventually.
It is. Let's get to it.
It's time for Jim's Back Page.
I gotta blame the fans and the media. Then after that, it's the lineman's fault, it's the coach's fault, the owner's fault, the turf, referees.
Today's stories that you might have missed.
IHOP, John.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know when National Pancake Day is?
Is it your birthday?
No, it's not.
Is it today?
No, it's not.
Is it coming up?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Tuesday, March 4th, IHOP, they announced today, is bringing back its beloved National Pancake Day celebration from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Participating locations will serve up a free short stack of their classic buttermilk pancakes to their guests.
For free?
Participating locations will serve up a free short stack to their classic buttermilk pancakes to guests.
So you just walk in and they give you free pancakes?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I would imagine there's a lot of lines.
There is.
Yeah.
I went a couple of years ago.
And there's a
They're
line.
packed.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So will you be going to that? No? Brent? No? Anybody? No? Okay.
Maybe.
Krispy Kreme is testing new menu items in select markets. Some of the menu items include
donuts,
salads,
burgers, new flavored donuts.
Okay.
Such as the New York cheesecake donut, an unglazed donut filled with cheesecake flavored cream, dipped in white icing and topped with graham cracker crunch topping.
That sounds awesome.
An Oreo cookie and cream. An Oreo cookie topped unglazed donut with cream filling, dipped in Oreo cookie pieces, then drizzled with white icing. A cinnamon swirl, an unglazed donut that has been tossed in cinnamon sugar and topped with cream cheese icing. A Biscoff cookie buttercream donut, an unglazed donut filled with Biscoff cookie butter flavored cream, then dipped in Biscoff cookie butter and cookie pieces, then drizzled with white icing. Bro. An original glazed cake, an original glazed, but as an old-fashioned cake donut. Cinnamon apple filled donut, an unglazed donut that has been tossed in a sweet powdered cinnamon coating and filled with apple cinnamon filling.
You're getting way too excited.
Yeah,
about these
what are you
donuts.
doing with your voice here?
I'm just making it seem like it's bigger than it really is. All these donuts are going to be tested in certain markets, according to Krispy Kreme.
Canada.
No.
Zimbabwe.
No, one of the markets is not San Diego, unfortunately. But they're all in the States. So anybody listening to the show in Atlanta, South Carolina, Louisville, Kentucky,
Hawaii,
Charlottesville, Virginia, or
Hawaii and Alaska
Greensboro,
only.
Charlotte, and Raleigh, North Carolina, get your Krispy Kreme
First
new
of all,
donuts.
Charlottesville is Virginia. There's no way they're like, we have it for you in Charlottesville. We have it for you in Virginia.
It says Charlottesville, Richmond, and Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk.
I
say it like it's a curse word.
Norfolk. Oh boy. And finally, a Valentine's Day gift if you're in the Bronx.
Okay.
A zoo at the Bronx for Valentine's Day is letting people, it's like a promotion, name cockroaches after their exes.
Creative.
So basically what this is a hissing roach at the Bronx Zoo.
Yeah.
You can name after your ex and send them an announcement. So you can name this hissing roach at the zoo and then send your ex a letter saying that you named them after a hissing roach.
That's a good way to get killed.
That's a good way to get a restraining order.
Yeah, exactly.
They're your ex. Who cares?
A hissing roach. How much? To name a hissing roach.
It doesn't say. It just describes the hissing roach.
I kind of like these stories in Valentine's Day more than like the
other way.
Oh, look, it's a heart pizza. I liked, what was it? Pizza
Right.
Hut a couple years ago. I was like, hey, we'll dump your girlfriend or boyfriend for you in pizza. We'll just write it out in pepperoni. I think that stuff's funnier than just the cutesy crap.
Anyone go to the zoo to see the roaches?
The hissing roaches.
Hey, honey.
Hey, honey, I shrunk the
Go to
roaches.
roach exhibit.
No.
Well, they don't just sit there and eat bamboo all day. And
No,
do
that's what I'm
nothing.
saying. People go to the zoo to see pandas.
Correct.
That's
Not
what people-
hissing
yeah.
roaches.
Well,
Pandas
'cause
get you in the door.
Depending on where you live, you can see cockroaches at your house.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly. All right, back tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll get you ready for the Aztecs, the latest of the Padres drama. There will be some. I promise you of that. If you missed anything today, sportsst.com. Maybe they'll have a TV deal tomorrow. Maybe the Rangers Sports Network was the day before the Padres Sports Network gets announced.
Hold your breath.
If you missed anything today, sportsst.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. Back tomorrow, too, for Brent and Jim. I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Peace out, bye.
Bye.